evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board meeting for Monday, September 15th, 2025. Have a quorum. I don't know if Tom is making it or not. I'm not sure if he's away, but we do have a quorum, so we'll proceed. The meeting agenda stands as it was posted. I don't see any changes or know of any changes. You have Jim's meeting notes. Are there any comments, questions related to those?
I move we accept.
I have a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. You have in draft form the September 2 minutes. Are there any corrections or additions? Motion? A motion, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carried. Correspondence and announcements? I have none. Anyone else? All right, then we'll begin with the new application portion of the meeting this evening. The first up is TNT Homes, 99 Russell Avenue, site plan, special use wetland permit, construction for a single-family dwelling, garage, and pool. Good evening.
Good evening. We have your own. Watch your eyes. The lightsaber.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Rominsky here representing TNT Homes LLC. Also with me this evening is the project engineer, project architect is also here, Castrul, and then Victoria Polidoro is the attorney working on the project. This is an application for, as Melody mentioned, consideration of site plan, special permit, and wetlands disturbance permit application. The property is located on the north side of Russell Avenue. Total parcel size is a little more than 5 acres. It's 5.1 acres. This is the perimeter of the property. It's located on the northerly side of Russell Avenue. And also shown on this on the site plan, this dashed line right here and this dashed line right here. These are the AOC wetlands, or also wetlands that are under jurisdiction by the town of Rhinebeck. With regard to the wetland determination, we've notified, we sent New York State DEC the digital information on this parcel. There's been no response, no initial response from DEC. Sent the certified mailing to DEC and waited 10 days with no response. And so this DEC is taking no jurisdiction of these wetlands. What's also not necessarily new on this property, I worked on this property probably 3 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, for development of a single-family residence. And in doing that, I'm not sure whether they ever came in front of this board. Is this the first time?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, I developed with, generally location for a residence in this area, but I was able to obtain approval from the Dutchess County Health Department for on-site waste disposal and actually the water supply. And so this area that's shaded right here, this is the primary sanitary disposal area, and that's actually right here is the expansion area. In investigating the site, this was the only location, as you can see, with the property. Take a look at the topography. These are 1 foot contours, so it's really through here. There's a water course going down over to here, and obviously this wetland area. And then this wetland area is basically associated with the water course with some vegetation in here, and that's what bumped this area out. right through here. So this was actually, and so then when you take a look at the wetlands, and then this smaller dashed area right here is actually outside the 100-foot adjacent area of the wetland. And so I was able to gain health department approval for the absorption area to be located through here. The well is actually located in this area right here. And so that was part of that approval. And it was key in development of the site. This right here, this is a outcropping. This is a rock outcropping in this area here. And then it's basically flat through here. You can take a look at the contours through there. It's fairly flat. And so, in consideration of development of this property, certainly utilizing existing approval from the health department for the sanitary facilities, and then it was development of the residents for the property, and then what's also being proposed here is a pool. There's a lap pool that's being proposed here. And so once again, great care in taking citing this, trying to preserve this rock outcrop area here. So minor grading required on the north side of it. The residence is in this location here. And then what also would be access into this property. And so it was multiple things. One, took a look at sightline along Russell Avenue, and we have adequate sightline both in the westerly and easterly direction. Just some vegetation along here that needs to be trimmed in order to allow a little bump here, so there might be a little bit of grading, but pretty clear sightline. And then what also drove this location of the driveway is separation to the sanitary facilities, because I provided grading and stormwater management. You see there's a culvert here and a culvert here in order to pick up any of the runoff coming down the slope from the sanitary facilities, maintaining adequate separation to that, and then ultimately just free discharge and heading towards, obviously, it'll head towards this stream and wetland area. Once again, all stormwater treatment with that, and consideration of the development of and the development of the driveway. And then I finally just once again said that this was previously approved due to the location of the structure and what's being proposed, and Chris will get into that in a few minutes. It'll require reapplication to the health department. My original design was background. This will require a pump station, and so it will require application to the health department for reapproval. I'll note that this design considers 3 bedrooms. That's it. Can't fit any more on the property. So it's a maximum 3-bedroom design. And so then obviously this structure has been designed for 3 bedrooms. Also shown on the plans I've taken, there's, I know members are probably familiar with this section. I located there's some significant trees on the property, some big oaks and maples. And so they're also shown and included on the plans. And so once again, it's been, the design team has gone through and tried to minimize the amount of, obviously, site disturbance. Our total site disturbance on for this project is 0.68 acres. So we've really tried to minimize what we're doing, as far as site disturbance. A very, very small footprint. You notice regrading through here is shown. There's concrete walls that are associated with this, so there's no regrading off into the wetland area. And so, once again, small disturbance. There's obviously erosion sediment control will be part of the program with this, but as you know, once again, we don't have to file anything with DEC. We're under the 1 acre threshold. Let's see. You know, I just want to note that 0.68 acres is only 13% of the total area on the site, and that 40% of that disturbance is outside the buffer, right? And so it's in this area. So our disturbance within the buffer is about 60%. And with our wetland disturbance application, we've included the amount of disturbance in the wetland adjacent area. Chris will be able to describe the architecture. Does the board have any questions so far? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. There's a few considerations that were primary to us when partnering with these guys in designing the house beyond what was already spoken about. I think the initial feedback that we heard from some members was just really an attempt to reduce as much as we can the significant impact on footprint and on-site disturbance. So with that being a primary goal for us, coupled with our general primary goal as a firm, which is to get to a net zero and sustainable home, we try to minimize, as you said, the clearing as we come up to the house and as we get there. We, from the initial design, also reduced, there was going to be a linked building between the two. We took that away to get down under 3,000 square feet for the main residence. Another major thing which caused us to have a pumped septic system was to actually just bring that elevation of the building down inside, in elevation. So the clients, we pitched them on the idea of maintaining that rock outcropping that's here and using it as a way to have the natural feature between the road and the home and bring that home elevation down so that it was more of a feature rather than something that needed to be worked on and cleared. So reducing the height, reducing the footprint, and maintaining as much as we could between the home and the road to reduce not only visual to the road, but also disturbance to the site was primary for us. So other than that, the home is designed as a 3-bedroom home. It has 3 bathrooms, 3 bed, 3 bath on the second floor. It has a half bathroom on the lower level. The entire building is clad in natural materials to try to reduce its impact visibly from the road and just help it to fade into the wooded environment over time was the idea behind that. Yeah, so the total square footage, as I said, it was just under 3,000. The total square footage of the home itself is 2,945, and then there's the garage next to it as well. So, yeah, just yeah, and they're in the set we submitted.
I don't have. That was actually going to be one of my questions. They weren't in the file that
I submitted.
Okay, they weren't there. We're going for next time. I don't have them. What I had to review, but we submitted them.
I can chat about it. I have them. I can forward them.
Yeah, do you have hard copies?
I don't have hard copies,
Okay.
but I can. Yeah. So if they're not in that set, I can forward them. I assume there's no time for that right now. For you to pull them up if I forward them over.
Not really, no.
Okay.
We'll go for the public hearing.
Sure, and I'll just talk about it then for a moment. It's a 2-story gabled structure, got a very regular window pattern along the street-facing side, rectangular, sort of normalized window pattern with 2/2 divided light, all triple glazed windows on that side, and a small covered walkway along the road-facing side that just comes from here along the front of this. On the back side of the building, there's a slightly deeper overhang just to allow outdoor dining, again on the back side. And the back side, the window openings, as you get to the living room, expand and get a little bigger as they look out into the woods on the back end of the building. Both buildings are gable structures, 2-story. I don't know if there's anything else. I mean, do you want me to get anything else on the elevations?
People like to run through his comments and we'll see what they'll take them over.
Sure. Sounds good.
Jim?
So like, we have a number of comments, as everyone can see. This is a, pretty environmentally sensitive site, restricted site. Mark went through a lot, but I'm not going to go through all the technical items, and just hit on some of the larger ones. The first one is that we had originally said that we thought a special use permit was necessary. Because you're applying for a wetlands permit, I actually don't think we need a special use permit, so I think we can pull that one out for requirements. That's on me. So I don't think that's required, just for the board's knowledge, but it's essentially the same, reviews can take place with regard to the wetlands permit, so it's more of a permitting issue. We talked about the jurisdictional determination. You essentially haven't heard from them, so that essentially gives you a 5-year permit to undertake the project as proposed. Wetland delineation has been updated, which is good because it was more than a year old. You've redesigned it to avoid the rock outcropping. You're going to talk to Dutchess County Health Department, which is good. One question I did have, because I didn't have the elevations to look at for that public hearing, was there was originally a gym proposed. Is that still in the mix?
As of right now, no, they're just gonna do a garage down below and just a small storage above. We actually reduced the height of the garage, so it is now a narrower storage area with just a exposed pitch inside. So it's an attic plus.
So in addition to elevations, do you have the floor plan layout?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
both floors.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that and get the public hearing. The absorption field, as Mark discussed, I think it's probably the only place that you can get it put, but it is in front of the existing, it's in front of the proposed house. And I assume it will have some grading and mounting to it. And I just thought the board would like to take a look at that, especially as it relates to tree removal. And Mark, I wasn't entirely clear where the tree line was going to go. I know you had some trees listed in here, but the site is mostly wooded, so I wasn't sure exactly where the tree line was going to remain after everything's done.
What I can do is, once there's a tree line along Russell Avenue, and then once you go in, there's hardly any underbrush, and it's all big tree, it's all significant trees. And so what I can do is, and then I can maybe enlarge it and then provide the board specifically what trees would be removed as part of the development. And then for a site visit, I'll just have them marked so you can see them.
So some of the pictures, this is from your 1A, 1B, there were some pictures there, so you can see that there's not, like I say, not a lot of underbrush, but there are a lot of trees, so I just don't know where, that tree line is going to kind of be cut back. I'm assuming they're on a lawn or something, so just some clarification on that.
Okay.
I think it would be good.
Just on the, you said they didn't want a lot of, their intent from anything beyond what is needed to be clear for your septic area, they want to maintain as many of these trees as they can. That is their goal primarily on this site, is to maintain as much of the ballpark as they can.
Yeah, we've had a couple in the past, a couple projects where we proposed the field in front and their mount systems, and we just try and minimize the visual impact of the mount system in front of the house. It's not the most desirable location for these.
Understood.
So that's what I think the conversation that we would have related to that. And that's where the tree line can come in. We'll retain some of that existing, signals and things that might help with it. So, other things. Can you just explain again that the renderings and the elevations and things probably would have helped, but I wasn't entirely sure, I'll zoom in here. Maybe explain folks exactly what's going on here. Is this all proposed as a new pavers and things that were then made out to the pool that has other pavers around it, and then a retaining wall?
Great question. Yeah.
Coming around this end down to about here, so about 2.5 sides of it.
So on the retaining wall, yes, that's exactly right. The sort of sand hatch, the speckle hatch, is just a pea stone gravel area. And then all of this is a bluestone area around the pool, with the pool just being that rectangle. So all of this is just a pea stone walkway. Mostly around this side, it's just pea stone to get you around the house. And then on this side, there's some covered area as well, which you'll see in the elevations, for them to have a dining area, and then just a little bit of room to the pool, a few steps down to the pool as well. And they do step down to the pool a little bit so you can minimize that wall on the backside. It's face anything.
No retaining wall to be elevated above the topography when it's finished? So, or will it be completely built into the existing landscape? Because
From the front, it will, along this side, there will be retaining at the edge of the pool for an infinity edge. We were gonna do the pool on grade, but retaining helps us reduce the impact of grading on the backside. So we convinced them to go with it, allow that retaining to be exposed, so they're gonna use it for some kind of feature of the pool itself.
so,
It's about 7 feet.
yeah, so we're gonna need a fence permit and probably a special use permit review for that one, so our special use permit will come back into play because of that, but I do applaud you for doing less disturbance, you know, in that regard. I think that's good, given the site constraints, the fact that we are in a wetland buffer.
They weren't
that wall
initially
will-
excited about it, but I think
It's
it's.
essentially going to be considered this wall that you can't see through, so we had to estimate this fence.
What is the special use permit for the retaining?
For the fence, it's essentially seen as a wall or a fence that you can't see through, requires a
Oh.
special use permit. And that's the retaining wall, so it will be, if it comes into the grade, then I kind of say, well, you're at grade, you're not really blocking anything, because that's what the grade is, but when you're above grade, it unfortunately falls in that definition of being a fence or a wall, you can't see through.
And you can't count it as a foundation wall?
Not if it's elevated above the ground. We can discuss this further, I can talk about
Okay,
it.
that's
That's the
fine.
way we
We can
handled it in
talk
the
about
past. That's how we handled it.
And it will be graded all along this edge, the inside edge, but of course.
And I understand over the see it, you know, they're on the middle and everything else, but the code is very specific in the definition of what is a wall that you can't see through, so. You may have to keep that special use permit in place, or may just change it.
Just change the plan.
The pool will need the New York State compliant fence or surround, Mark, you know all that, just a note stating that will be the case is fine. Any lighting or landscaping proposed should be shown on the plans. And then I think given that we are so close to the wetland, just showing the silt fencing would be useful for the board to ensure that they're comfortable with this.
Yeah, I'll provide all that.
Jim, in your, number 8, you were asking for a little more clarification.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, so the phase 1A and 1B was submitted in May. And it looked like it was pretty much cleared, but I don't know if you'll be able to tell us what's going on tonight, but there was a New York State Museum Site 3158 that was identified to be pre-contact with traces of occupation within the APE. It's previously been reported to the New York State Museum as an archaeological site, but it didn't appear to result in any specific consideration or analysis or need for protection from development. So I would just like some clarification on what, see what that means. It's an identified site, it is in the APE, just to quite understand that it wasn't anything talking about how that may or may not be impacted, so.
We'll give them something cultural.
Yeah, and if I misread it, that's fine, but it seemed to me that it said that they were in the APE, but it's only specific to, making sure that it's preserved. So,
Okay.
just a question.
Okay.
That,
Sorry.
oh, actually, no, because you took care of the gym classification, so it's not there.
Wait.
I just have one thing, Jim. So, Jim, if you could go to, have the table, have a setback table on this. So, yeah, it's right there, right? Okay, so front yard setback, right? And so, take a look. They have the residence and the garage are connected, and they're in the same line, right? They're lined up. But the residence and the garage are not parallel to the front property line. But they're in the same plane, right? So I just want to get it out.
Well, actually, that was another comment that we did skip over. So.
Right. Oh, okay, all right, so, what's the spirit of the zoning code then?
I will need to defer to Brian on that one. As
Okay.
the administrator, that's not something I can make a call on, but I did see
Okay.
that in the letter that Victoria sent.
Right,
I do know we talked about that last time with the previous, with the pre-con, before things changed.
right.
Right, because the lot goes this way.
Yeah, here's the property boundary, here's this, right? And so it's really key to keep, this alignment is to minimize disturbance, right? And all of a sudden, if I rotate it this way, grading changes. It changes how we're trying to preserve this rock outcrop here. once again, this is developed in order to meet health department requirements for separation of stormwater to the sanitary, and so I just wanted to be upfront about it.
Yeah, so I do have it in my notes as one of the things I guess I skipped over, probably should have mentioned. I think we need to just get a determination from Brian actually on that, to see what we stack on.
Okay, so assuming his interpretation is to go to the ZBA, for example, I think we've had discussion, the project team has had discussion. I think it would just maybe change this would, either this garage would shorten up and maybe bump a little bit to the north in order to, instead of just going straight across like this, I think we would just push it back just to avoid motion of the ZBA.
Sure. We'll talk to Brian.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. If it did have to be pushed back, since you're already putting in a retaining wall, I don't know if that would help in terms of, you know, if you've already got the grading there as well, maybe you just extend that retaining wall a little further to help you with your garage, so you don't have to do any additional grading. Obviously, that's a different expense.
Right, so you mean through here?
No, for the top end of the garage, back right.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So if you push
that's
it back-
true, yeah, if you push it back, yeah, you
And
do
put a
it, just
retaining wall in
extend
there,
it.
you wouldn't have to actually grade any further back.
Right.
But I understand it would be an additional expense.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to check.
We're talking about something that's off by a degree or two. I mean, it looks fairly to me.
Yeah,
And
it
without
does, doesn't it?
without a transit, I mean, how would?
It was until I measured it.
Okay, too honest.
Then it didn't, because it's like, I think it's a 7-foot difference, right? I think so.
Mark, the issue though isn't the setback, it's that you have a rule that says you can't project your garage in front of your house.
Yeah, I
If you don't want
understand.
those trout houses, but
It-
it doesn't look like that at all.
No, it's not a snout house. It really doesn't fit that pattern that we're trying to work against, so.
So can
I
you,
appreciate your candor.
can you put a good word in for me, Brian?
We'll talk to Brian.
I'll go into the arcade.
All right.
We will talk to him, I don't know if Jim wants to let him know we're coming.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
that was one of my notes.
Thank you.
I
All
didn't-
right, let me open it up to planning board members for their questions and comments.
I looked at the site across the street from this a year and a half ago. I think Sharon was there. And I recall it was, this must be the lot next to the residence that has the stone pillars and the iron gates.
Which one is that? Is it Scott, is it this side?
Yeah, it would be, right, well, if you look up at the site, zooming out, that was the site that we looked at. So it might be either the small one right next to your lot, no, the other side,
That one.
that one, or the one next to that. You don't have anything planned for the street side as far as like a gate or,
No, just, once again, like, this entrance, like, chose this, because I located all the trees, chose this entrance to avoid.
okay, that's great. And the pea gravel surround, is that underdrained or is it just built on gravel at grade?
It will all have drainage in it, so we do a slab on grade punch slab that's insulated, and then we footing drain that, and then we also will have French drain at the edge of the drip all around. So the whole keystone area will all habituate and have some drain out of that French,
But it goes into a French drain
into a French drain.
and not into a swale or anything like that?
Correct, into a French drain.
Is the pool drained seasonally?
Good question.
And just where is the plan?
To drain, yeah.
And also, sorry, it would be good to know how many trees of what caliber you're going to be taking out and whether or not there's an intention of maybe logging and using the lumber either decoratively
I
or.
can speak to that, actually. So
Yeah.
we work with another company in the area, near our hardwoods. On other sites, we just took trees down from another site where we cut, grade, and dry the material, and we then use it, in some cases, depending on what it is, for furniture back in that house or furniture in other houses, but between them and Makers and Core, the furniture company we work with, we do have intentions to reuse anything we take that is of usable caliber to be dining table furniture in the home, and if not here, then also in other homes. So that's something that we are doing on all of our sites right now,
Okay.
just as a standard practice. Even if the client is interested, we still harvest and use use it elsewhere.
Great, and is the same said for stone? If you take stone out of the site?
Depends, we've done it, where we've chipped site, where we have to chip and then we crush on site and use for the underslab gravel. It depends how much we're taking in, if it's worth bringing a machine in to do that. There's not as much, we don't expect there to be that much stone in the site compared to where we've done that. But it, you know, we've always explored it. If there's a tipping point where it makes sense to do that, we will use it.
But there are no stone walls or
There's
building features?
stone wall across the back.
Right, but as far as the plan to make it like a new stone wall around the,
No, I mean, there's no plan right now to chip stone, turn it into wall stone, and use it for walls. None of that right at the moment. Yeah, we've never tried that.
Are you landscaping around the house?
We don't typically do the landscape scope on the architectural side.
Is there going to be landscaping done?
Yeah,
If so,
absolutely,
then the
absolutely.
landscaping plan should be part of the application.
and what's the nature of the bedrock? Is it very wacky, what you see all over the stone?
Okay, anyone else? Comments, questions? Jim, you have a procedural resolution?
The draft procedural resolution for the board's consideration for the application by TNT Homes for site plan and wetlands permit. We will also probably add the special use permit back to that. Town Code Chapter 125 and Town Code Chapter 120 for construction of a house attached garage, which is not attached, a garage and a swimming pool on undeveloped lot on Russell Avenue. Accepting the application, supporting documents is adequate for further review. Classifying the action as type 2 under seeker, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. We'll schedule the public hearing on the application for October 20th. We'll send it to the CAB, the WAC, HAPAC, and Dutchess County Planning for referral, and we need 2 planning board members to do a second.
I'll go.
Please, who would like to take this? I have a draft resolution, may I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next new application for this evening is that of Susan Allen for 55 Orchard Drive, site plan and special use permit for the replacement of an existing retaining wall, walkway, and entry steps. All right?
Warren Smith representing Susan Rowan, corner of Morning Street and Orchard Drive. This site was in before the planning board a few years ago, where then Brian and Susan Rowan replaced the shed over the left of the site plan with a new shed. Brian is no longer with us, but Susan decided, I think because it was deteriorating, it was time to replace the railroad tie retaining wall that sat along the edge of the property. Right here, and it wrapped back to her door. And I think she spoke to the highway superintendent and said, oh, it's in the town right away, it's a good idea to go ahead. Little did he think that she should come before the planning board, but Ed Maddox or Brian Goes said stop. So she did. The plan is to replace it's already been straightened out and cut back, but the plan is to replace that old railroad tie retaining wall with a dry laid stone, or what would appear to be a dry laid stone wall, right along the boundary, pretty much where the railroad ties were, and then return it back and replace the steps that lead to the house and the entrance is at the lower level there on the south side. And while we're at it, we'd like to put a screen in front of propane tanks on the northwest corner of the house, which is also shown in the same application. That is a substance of this. The wall will be constructed to, drain water and let it run out so it doesn't offset the wall the way the railroad ties will offset over time by water flow. As you know, everything flows toward the river and needs to take things with it. But using best practices, it will be constructed to let water drain through in a controlled manner, but hold the grade.
Primarily, I think this is just a review of, historic character and consistency. I do have this, which actually just happened to catch when I think they were probably just started when they first stuff out on Google. So this is the property, if you're on the board, you remember we worked on this before, and these are the propane tanks in the back that would be shielded under existing. And then I did include another picture in here, because I just happened to drive by last week. But yeah, I think it's primarily historic preservation. Again, I think a special use permit would be required for the wall work. It'll probably be above grade, however, we're doing a special use permit anyway, because we are in the Rhinebeck overlay. Let's just keep that in mind as we're doing the review. And other than that, I just want to ask, this is, it's on her property, and there is nothing else around it in terms of a sidewalk. Is this considered a public walkway? Would it be a public sidewalk?
The sidewalk to the work?
Well, along the road. I'm just wondering about right here.
Well, there isn't a sidewalk now.
There was
along the
something
road.
there, right?
It's in the right of way, right? The property line is the rectangle, and the retaining wall is out toward that.
Right, it's up, it's in the town, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm just wondering if it would be considered a public sidewalk or used by the public, in which case we need to consider ADA. You're proposing to put down bluestone, which I think is great.
No, but that's the wall. We're not proposing a sidewalk.
Oh,
There is not a sidewalk now, we weren't proposing to install one. There is no sidewalk along the road.
So,
If you go back to the photo.
Yeah, so you're gonna put in fill.
Yeah, there was no sidewalk, but that's simply where the old railroad ties came out, and they went back to grade a basis for putting in a wall.
Okay. So there's nothing other than the sidewalk.
Yeah, there's no
Okay.
sidewalk on either side of the corner.
Okay. All right, we'll disregard that. So yeah, it's again, still a discussion for character.
Planning board members? Questions?
Yeah. What's the objection to using the real dry stone wall?
Well, I mean, it will be, the border will be held back, but it's more subject to erosion with water flowing through. For all intents and purposes, it can be.
Could be a dry stone. Is it going to have a footing? Or is it just going to be built at grade or on
No,
gravel?
it's going to be built with grade. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
with
it's going to
gravel underneath and around it.
It's going to be a mortared wall.
Well, it's mortar basically just to hold the stone together, but it can't be continuous mortar, or it wouldn't
But
allow
that
water
makes
to get through.
That makes them brittle.
Well,
Anyway, we can have that discussion.
Yeah.
Do you have any historic photographs of the property that would show what might have been there before the railroad ties?
I've seen no photographs of Sheffield before the road. You may recall that the further down the road in the property, there was another retaining wall that was collapsing, right where the shed, where the shed was, in front of the shed. And it was overgrown with wild roses and various other things. We had to rebuild that, and that was rebuilt with very massive concrete pieces to hold it in place because the grade was around that. And that's been slowly taken up by education again. But that was something rather different. That was older stones, not in any particular way pattern, not level. This is going to be much more visible. It's not going to have the same vegetation, so it seemed to make sense to make it a more attractive stone.
Right. Were you around when the railroad ties were removed?
I was not. I wasn't brought into this until after.
It would be interesting to know if there was any remnant or evidence of what might have been there.
Well, I can
before.
ask the contractor to work on it.
Could have been like old fence posts or something.
Oh, yeah, well, I suppose the compound, I mean, it's not a very good change in grade. It tapers very little at the corner of Rhinebeck Orchard down. Yes, I mean, the house is an old house and has some charm to it. And, you know, but I haven't seen a photograph from, say, the 19th century that might show what the way it went on.
Anyone else?
Will the wall die down as the grade?
It's going to return and go back toward the house. Right.
On the
And on the top side, it's almost at grade at the corner.
Jim? Procedural resolution.
Draft procedural resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Susan Rowan for site plan and special use permit under Township Chapter 125 for installation of steps, retaining wall, and a fence to screen the existing propane tanks at 68 Livingston Street for the RCH and RC overlay. Accepting the application, supporting documents as added for further review, classifying the actions type 2 under seeker for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. We'll schedule a public hearing for October 20th. Thank you. We'll send it to CAB, WAC, HAPAC, and Dutchess County Planning for referrals, and need 2 planning board members to receive.
I'll go, but it's not Livingston Street. Right? It's at 5540? Not to be too picky.
Nope, that's important.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Let's go for the village.
Who would like to go first?
I'll have to
I'll
take
go
us.
first. I'll go first.
Okay, thank you, Molly.
Procedural resolution in draft, who would like to make a motion? So motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. The third new application this evening is that of 34 Mill Road LLC, 34 Mill Road, site plan review for renovation and addition.
Evening, Frank Mazzarella, architect. I'm working with Jonathan Lynch on the restoration of this 1950 house, circa 1915 house.
1915.
Yes, built along Mill Road. Was there a, did I see
Yeah, it's the second button down there, yeah.
you were sent plans of the existing conditions? Do you have those plans? Is this a separate file? Okay, so this plan set shows you some of the existing conditions, the original house, Mill Road at the bottom of the sheet here, backs up actually to the cemetery. There is another house which is a twin of this house, which knows both of them were part of the Casimir property, and some approvals were granted recently for that house. The site is relatively flat. We'll see that in a topo plan a bit later. And what's documented here are some of the major trees that are on the property. The driveway here off of Mill Road, we intend to maintain that existing location. Next slide, please. The top photos is an aerial photograph just showing there's a lot of foliage along the perimeter of the property, and trees. And on the interior of the lot, there's a very interesting red maple tree, which has kind of become the focus of the development, the additions that we're putting on the rear of the house. Bottom left is the front facade with a small porch. The house is stuccoed with some kind of neo-Tudor timber framing, which you can see on the gable ends. On the back of the house is actually a kitchen. We're using that, converting that into a new lounge space, serving an outdoor terrace and pool area here. The top of that kitchen addition, the existing house, is a very narrow bathroom. So the intent is to create a kind of double height space for that new lounge area. Next. The plan on the left showing the existing ground floor. It's kind of a four square. We're maintaining much of this profile, just removing one of these interior walls and creating a more open floor plan on the ground floor, maintaining the stair. This is the kitchen addition I mentioned on the back, which is now going to become a lounge. That's the existing basement is pretty much going to be remain the way it is. Next. This is a bit relevant to see the second floor of the house. We're maintaining all of these walls, with the exception of these two closets that we're taking out. So they're going to remain bedrooms. We're converting one of the bedrooms into a bathroom, which led us to put a nice dormer on the front of the house. It's the only real addition to the house, which will be seen from the road or from the front yard. Next slide. Royal elevation, so which are all going to pretty much remain the same. The dormer will be placed here on the center of this front facade. Next. Yeah, just some sections. Thank you. So going back to our proposal. So again, Mill Road on the left here. It's a 0.88 acre site. Existing house, ground floor and first floor included, is just under 2,000 square feet. We have about 1,000 square foot primary suite addition, which contains a bedroom, and a bathroom, laundry, and an entry. Again, maintaining the existing access point off of Mill Road, but bringing cars to the back of the lot. Very intentionally, and we thought it was interesting that all of the new structures, the primary suite and a carport, were set back. So the site, the interventions start to step back as you get further back and allow this kind of nice front yard and the privet hedge to act as a backdrop to the existing house. So all of the changes really occur on the south side or on the rear side of that privet hedge. We did want this existing porch to remain. It kind of is the protocol of the existing house and the procession that one originally had. So we did provide just like a mini pocket parking area, which is also useful because this, when you're exiting, this is not so much on the entry, but you're exiting from the property along Mill Road, it kind of curves and gets a little bit dangerous. So that it would allow you to turn around and back out front ways rather than having to back into the road. And it also serves for, a little overflow parking, deliveries, etc. But the main parking area is really going to occur beyond that privet hedge. So the entry porch existing serves kind of as a porte cochere there, a drop-off point, and the car can continue along and park under this carport, which is really a very open structure, more like an arbor, a structure for vegetation to grow on. And you have a side entry here now, taking advantage of the setback of the existing house, and you can enter this new kind of informal double-height lounge, or move to your right to the new addition. Next slide, please. So in gray is the existing house again. This is just a little bit larger scale. There is a kind of pathway which allows people to move back to the patio without having to go through the house. And along that, we took out a built-to-code door, which was situated right here under a small porch. And to replace that with this open exterior stair, which leads down to the basement, to allow the owners to bring material, perhaps from the terrace down to the basement, and just have some services below there, with, naturally ventilated, and their own access point there. So, new side entry. It's covered, protected, sheltered. Primary bath, laundry, little sauna, and just one single bedroom. Minor changes to the interior, removing that one wall which you saw in the original floor plan, creating kind of a core piece in the center which contains a small powder, kitchen, and maintaining and restoring that existing stair. Very nice wood floors in the whole house. We'd like to maintain all of them and sand them down. It looks like a Douglas fir. I think it will really add a lot of warmth to the house as well. The carport is really a separate structure. It's only connected to the house with the addition with a kind of pergola, and there is a gate which allows one to walk through. It's a very transparent structure, and enough room for cars to turn around here in this kind of motor court, let's say. Gravel driveway, and plantings as well accompanying all of the additions. Next slide, please. So this plan view shows the location of all of these walls are in their original location. The only thing that we added was this little bump out dormer to the second story has currently sloping ceilings that go down to a knee wall, which kind of limits the space. And this allows a bit more of a generous kind of guest bedroom up there, and the other bedroom turning that into a separate bath, which can be either an ensuite bath or access from the hallway. Just taking out those closets to create a little study area up there. The double height space shown here, overtopping the lounge. And these are the sloping roofs of the addition, and the sloping roofs, they slope inward, creating kind of an improved view, almost like a Roman courtyard, with the solar panels above the carport portion. There's also a pergola element, I don't know if I mentioned, we'll see that in the renderings, which creates a nice shaded outdoor area for outdoor dining, very close proximity to the kitchen. To make this outdoor space a bit more comfortable in summer months. Next slide, please. This is a roof plan showing the extent of the dormer centered on the existing roof. We put two skylights, or kind of in the plane of the roof. One is to allow light into the stairwell. The other allows additional light into that smaller bedroom. The dormer is centered and intentionally set back from the edges of the roof, so it does have an overhang on three sides as well. It would have been easier structurally to have that wall of the dormer supported by the wall below, but I think it's more sensitive to set it back and have it less, have less protagonism in that respect. Next slide, please. These elevations, they can be a little bit abstract because a lot of these things are set way back behind the hedge, so you're seeing things that are really not up front, and some of them will not even be visible. But you're seeing the dormer centered on the existing house. This is a view from the rear, which it's kind of difficult because there are a lot of things happening in different planes. The most forward element here is actually the carport, the back of the carport, and then this is a bay window on the bedroom addition, kind of new bay window on the back end of the existing kitchen, the pergola element on the other side. So really what this lounge became the center of everything that's happening on the rear of the house, of all the outdoor activities, and so everything is stemming off of there. And so we have a series of sloping roofs one sloping roof on either side, and then a kind of wooden element. So those are all wood frame elements which are kind of picking up on the timbers of the original tuber structure. Next slide, please. Some more elevations. So this will all be clearer in the renderings. Next, please. This is a view showing which zoning board requested what was the front of the house look like. So we did this recent rendering. This is the dormer, which is the only new element here. It's a little dark here. I don't know if you can see it well, but this is the privet edge, which runs behind the house, and that's a little better, right? The little pathway that I mentioned, which leads back, and there's a gate, so there is for for the purposes of the pool and pool fence. And there's another gate at the back near the carport, so just for safety, and some of the plantings you can see here. Next rendering. So the one at the top shows that kind of new entry court, road court, which allows parking for vehicles, and new side entry here. The roof that you're seeing here is the upper portion of the lounge. All the roofs are sloping. Doesn't even it's under 12 feet the highest point of the roof. We're planning on using the same materials that are part of the existing house. So the house is stucco. We're repeating that stucco here. It would have the same kind of either a light sand or an off-white color. The timber elements would be stained a dark grayish color. And there's one change here we decided as we began developing the proposal we made some modifications that this natural Douglas fir, I think, would be stained the same colors as we're seeing on the rendering below, same dark gray colors, wood. So, view from the rear showing what was the kitchen, and it had a small bathroom up here that I mentioned, is now a lounge with a bay window, with overhangs which would be framed out in wood with wood purlins and wood soffits. The new pergola for shading of the terraced area. The addition, primary suite addition. You're seeing the bedroom here and the bay window. And of course the pool area and the bluestone terrace. Next slide, please. So this is a plan which labels some of the landscape elements. The next, and they're listed here. The next sheet will show some photo references, but maintaining the existing entry drive, pea gravel, some plantings along the entry, and some shielding of some of the parking areas. These 3 trees are existing. I have here is kind of a ground cover parterre to kind of incorporate those 3 trees. This is a new dogwood tree in another parterre here. New hedging, privet hedging here. Some parterres for the parking area, pool area, and these 2 trees are the existing beautiful larger maple tree and a small maple tree. These are some other oaks which are in the rear. Some of them are rather large. There is one tree, and I kind of drew it in red here. Just, that I think is the only tree that we really need to remove. It happens to be right where the carport is. Next slide, please. There's a small shed in the back also, just large enough to store some lawn equipment, a little space for pool equipment shielded by some vegetation along one side. This shows the different species of plantings, the privet hedge, it's an I think ilex is the name, some pachysandra, a burning bush for the parking area, some types of grasses and ground cover, dogwood, grasses, etc. Next slide, please. This is elevations and plan view of the gates using a vertical slat, gate latch, self-closing hinges, etc. Much of part of the front of the pool fence is actually going to be hidden behind the hedge. There may be an opportunity there to use a different material or have that more of a vegetated element where the hedge becomes, where the fence becomes kind of camouflaged by the hedge itself. But this is a wooden element which would be stained, those visible elements would be stained the same dark color as the other wooden elements throughout the project. In terms of the height, this is the compliant 4 feet. The owner has mentioned that maybe, we could make it slightly higher in certain areas just to prevent the dog from getting out and there's the possibility of increasing the height of this fence in certain areas. Next slide. This is a plan that I drew up showing some of the topo from the Dutchess County Geo data showing the area and what's happening here. So there's a contour here. This is 205. This is 200. And you can see there's like 100 over 100 feet here for that 5-foot slope. So what I'm getting at in the next slide, you'll see the only contour that we're really modifying here is this 200 contour to create a flattened, to increase the flattened area. So this contour here is there's going to be some, pushing back some filling here to allow a flat area for this, development of this terrace, and the rest of the other contours will continue to slope down. It's a relatively flat site. Next slide, please. Just a lighting plan locating where we plan to intend to locate some exterior lighting elements. The ones in the carport are actually underneath the roof, so they don't have the same kind of restrictions as the kind of night sky lighting on the rest of the house. And the next sheets are cut sheets of some samples of lighting, down lighting. These are similar to the ones I put in the pavilion at the park. It's a similar condition where they're under a roof. The site has town water. We will be putting a septic system in the rear. We're working with our civil engineer now to study that. I think that's it. Any questions?
So this is like a couple others. I think this is primarily a discussion about changes to a historic property. This is a landmark property in the town. There are several variances that were required from the ZBA for the project as proposed, and we've already started that process with the ZBA, so that's moving forward. Let's see. So I did have a number of comments and questions and items for the board to consider. The first one is interior to the building here. This is proposed to be a lounge. As you know, anytime there's a space that's proposed to be conditioned, it could potentially be looked at as a bedroom. We have to discuss whether or not you think it could be used as a bedroom, both for the purposes of the site plan, but also septic. And obviously, you said you're going to DOH for septic approval. So the board will have to look at this and have a discussion about whether or not you think this could be considered a bedroom now or in the future, even though it's not proposed as such on the plans. And that's based on the codes that were written a couple of years ago. So there's one item. I'm going to jump around a little bit just because of the way my notes are. The pool requires a certified New York State compliant fence to be installed around. I know you mentioned the gate and showed the gate here. I just didn't see where else on the property the fence was proposed to go.
It's labeled on there, but I'm not sure. So there would be a fence which comes to the edge of the property here. It comes behind this hedge here, and that's where the gate that we saw in one of the views was there. Now the house itself is all connected, correct? There's another gate here which allows pedestrians to go through. This is an enclosed structure which is over, the required height. Has a fence element, and there's another gate here. So there are service gates here for lawnmowers, etc., to get to the back of the property. And then another fence would run along here, along this property line. One thing I forgot to mention in the rendering, some of the elevations were prior to the design and the incorporation of the pool, and they have some horizontal slats. I think we would use vertical ones so that it's ladder, does not have the ladder effect of children climbing up the fence, and work equally well for the slat structure of the carport.
So all the details will need to be finalized in order for the board to move forward on the plan. So you're going to have to decide on the fence type, whether it's gonna be vertical, horizontal, the heights, things like that. If you're gonna run it all the way out to the road, there are height restrictions on that, so you need to take a look at the road and make sure you're not running foul of that. You said you weren't sure if the heights might change. So all of those details need to be figured out, preferably before we come back to the public hearing. As far as the fencing goes, I believe the pool has to be completely enclosed by a fence. So if you're not proposing to send it all the way around the rest of the property or through the middle of the backyard, I think you're gonna have to figure out something for that. I am not a professional when it comes to the pool, but it needs a full surround, as far as I know, and based on what you're telling us here, you're only doing the front half.
So it would be, different type of fencing that's kind of along the property
We'll
line.
need that
Yeah,
detail, we
right.
need that shown on the plans, and you can detail that as well. We talked about in the pre-con, you need to apply for a New York State DEC jurisdictional determination. Has that been done? Yeah. Got that process started, that's good.
Do you know when you applied for it?
Shortly after our last meeting.
Yeah, it was, I think, the following day.
So it would have been mid-August.
Yeah.
We met on the 18th.
Yeah, I believe it
If DEC doesn't come back, yeah, it can be 110 days. So about 30 at this point.
was. It looks like it went in on the 21st.
So we're about, not quite 30 days in. They can take 90 days to get back to you if you don't hear from them. You then have to send a certified letter by mail to Albany and wait 10 days to see if you hear from them. If you don't, then you're good to go. If you do hear from them, then you'll have to work with them on whatever it is that they'd like to discuss. You have applied for a demolition permit. That was necessary because you are proposing to make a change to the roof line of the house, and you can get into the elevation later, and that was for the dormer. You have proposed a shed back here. Is that part of the ZBA application? Because I don't think you meet the setback requirement here, 37 and a half feet. So if you don't, that may have to move, or you may want to add that. I think when you would talk about going to ZBA, it was during the pre-con. I think this was added after we talked.
It was
Pre-con.
added after, yeah.
So just look into this and see if that needs to be added to ZBA application, or if you want to move that to make sure you meet that setback requirement. We talked about Department of Health. One item I would like to know is just the total square footage of the accessory structures on the site. So that would include the shed, the carport, and there's one other. It's in my notes. We'll go get those so you can take a look at that, just to make sure you're under the 1,500 square feet requirement for accessory structures.
The carport's listed, I think it's 607, and I think it's, I'm sorry, the shed is also listed on that plan.
Yeah, I think you're under
Yeah,
1,000.
well,
Yeah, if we get that number, just that would be good to have on paper for the file. We're proposing to add more impervious surface to the area, both from the addition of the driveway and the parking area. I didn't see anything related to drainage, so I don't know if you're planning to have a sheet flow. I know it's pretty flat in here. Didn't know if you had any plans on handling that drainage, downspouts, other things. Where do you think that would go?
There are gutters on here. This is going to be a pervious surface. We have yet to really define this back patio in terms of the type of pavement, but it would be nice if that was also pervious paver as well.
So again, those details would need to be figured out. And the reason I ask is we're proposing to change the slope back here with some fill. Again, I don't think it's a big deal because it is so flat, and any runoff that goes back here is pretty flat. I don't think we're seeing any kind of major rushing of water heading off site or anything like that. But it all has to be kind of accounted for. Did label the solar on the roof of the carport. You had talked about removing that one existing tree. I think we just need to know what it is and the size and type, whether or not it's in good condition or not. And I think that was mostly the majority of the questions.
Okay. I'll open it up to planning board members for their comments.
I don't see what's wrong with this house, how it is, and I'm a little bit troubled by the kind of dismissive nature of what seem to be character defining features of this really nice little old house that's part of a National Register property. And also, I know there are a lot of people in this room who are wondering about, why we can't have workforce housing in this town. And I would maintain that it's the, the expansion and over-aggrandizement of modest family housing that's really driving the need for workforce housing. So this, I don't see the reason why this needs to be done to this little house. And I think it's an important feature that shouldn't be treated in such a way.
Sharon?
Well, the dormer of the front of the house is very much out of character.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your last comment.
The dormer on the front of the house is out of character. The house, the color on the roof right there is brown. What are you planning to put on the roof? Or are you going to keep on what's there?
Yeah, it's actually a dark gray. It's a metal roof, so right now it has an asphalt shingle roof. There was at one point a plate tile roof, but the idea is to use a metal roof.
Did you consider the plate tiles that were historically?
They were, I think that they were not on.
Oh, I have a photograph.
Right, but they were not on when the current owner purchased
Oh, no,
the property.
but I was just asking, following up on Sharon's question.
Because I do remember the clay tiles, and then when they were replaced with the, I guess, asphalt, they kept the same, similar color. The skylights on the rear are out of place. The driveway across the front of the house is obscene. To put a driveway in front of a historical house is just beyond me. And I think it would be good if we had a picture of this house and the twin house next to it, an old picture, so we can have it for comparison, so we know what we're looking at.
There's a dormer that's on the house next door, they had that.
Well, we're not revisiting the house next door. We're
Right,
looking at
in
this application.
comparison, I think, on the street.
I want to agree that I think the roof line and the photograph that I looked at historically, the addition of the dormer completely changes that character defining feature of that roof line on the front of the house. And there's a lot of review. I'm not going to get into everything tonight, but I really want to be looking seriously at the Secretary of the Interior standards and how the changes to this very modest but very significant portion of the Grassmere estate is being treated. I think there's a lot of sensitivity that's lacking. I even want to talk, when we're talking about the Secretary of the Interior standards, because I know that sometimes with additions, it's not recommended to replicate the same material. So additions may not necessarily want to be in stucco, making it look like it was there. So there's just a lot, I think, to be considered here. And as you pointed out earlier with the companion house, the sister house next door, there are two other houses along there that I think were also occupied by some of the same family for many years. And it forms a sort of roadscape, in my opinion, similar to the streetscape in a village. And I agree with Sharon that the introduction of this parking court and everything in the front interrupts that roadscape in a very significant way. So I just think there's
Well,
a tremendous amount of work
to the parking. Yes, sure.
I just think that there's a lot to look at. I can't tell from the images whether you're retaining the diamond pane windows or not. It isn't clear in the images here. Are they being retained?
It's a discussion that we had, and I think the
Well, I
owner.
think they're also an important character defining feature of the front facade of that house. Others?
I just want to add, I think it would be useful for us to know where the existing septic tank and absorption field for this house is. That didn't seem to be on the plans. also the nature of the drainage and the runoff for the hardscape and
Yes.
how that gets handled.
Okay.
Judge, does anyone else have comments?
Anyone else?
I just want to respond to the issue with the driveway. So we actually did early on consider having a separate drive here, but it seemed to leave this as an open front lawn and have a simple drive along one side. It's something that could be considered
I think there's a lot
that
of
this, yeah, thank you. In reference to your Craig's comments about why put an addition or why change the character of this house, I think maybe the owner could, it's a house which is currently in a total state of ruin. There's water, there is the stance that you're doing this in life and you're going to make this useful and you're bringing up the modern day standards. I don't think we have to get into a discussion about workforce housing. I mean, the owner would like to build a lovely home here, and I think that's a separate discussion for a separate time.
Okay, well, there's a lot to discuss, certainly going forward, and we'll be reaching out to make that. And we may consider, I'm not there yet, I don't know whether we'll be needing to really reach out to other historic preservation experts as to the degree to which we should be applying the Secretary of the Interior standards.
And one of the interior statements, and really, the idea is that addition reads like a new addition to the old house. So there's a clear distinction between the two, which is exactly what the Secretary of the Interior says.
Sure. I think some of us are talking about scale and changing some of the important character defining features. So we'll continue to have discussions about it. Is there anyone else? Okay, then Jim, you have a procedural resolution.
Procedure resolutions for the board's consideration on the application by 34 Mill Road LLC for site plan review under Town Code Chapter 125 for construction of a house, attached carport and swimming pool, 34 Mill Road. Accepting application supporting documents is added for further review. Classifying the actions type 2 for which under seeker for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. Scheduling the public hearing for October 20th. We'll send this to the CABWAC, Haycock, and Dutchess County Planning as a referral. We need 2 planning board members to fill sites.
I'll go.
I'll go.
And I'll take along.
And your motion? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. That concludes the new application portion of this evening's meeting, and we'll move into the public hearings. The first public hearing scheduled for this evening is that Darren Prinz and Kelly Swiss, Eckerd Hook Road. They have again requested a continuation. Gretchen, do we have a date? Is it October? October 20?
Yep, you say
Okay.
it.
So may I have a motion to continue the public hearing for Prinz and Swiss to October 20? Motion, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. The next,
Can I have just one clarification? Files like this that just keep getting extended out, and this is because we're still waiting for clarification on where they want the driveway?
no, they have not responded to
They're
that.
waiting, they applied for the JD, they're working with DEC.
They have the JD, I believe.
Well, I think that they're working with DEC, so DEC has taken action on this, and so they haven't gotten beyond the 100 days.
But to answer, yes, but to answer your question, no, they have not responded to us as in the past. We requested some kind of determination as to the driveway. So your point, and maybe it's the point you're making, maybe not, go and read into it, but they have requested that we continue to October 20. We can choose to continue it to a later date if we want to.
It just seems like, oh, you know, how long do we go on and on and on? If we're waiting on something, you know, from an outside agency, then that's what it is. But if it's just being extended, and we still want some clarification, if they get the outside agency, we still are gonna ask for that clarification before we see them again? Do we want the application to answer that, so we know what we're reviewing?
Yes, we technically did not get very far through the review process with this application because we, after the initial discussions, ran into some issues, and so it's been continued. So we need to find out what the JD determination is, and then get from the applicant, I believe, kind of their final proposal, what they want to do, because they're talking about the different driveway locations and a couple other things. So none of that has been finalized as far as I've seen at this point. So we do have some discussion.
Well, would anyone prefer to continue it for 2 months if we're still waiting? I would like to have some conversation about this.
What are we doing?
Well, that's awesome.
I was trying to look back. I was under the impression that they had not, they were asking DEC for a more extensive review of something. I shouldn't be saying that because I'm obviously not able to quote anything here.
They had to apply for the JD because this rolled over past January 1st. So
No, I know they did, but
I don't know where it stands.
thought, do you recall the most
I
recent?
believe that so from the planning board's perspective, the main question is the driveway location. And I had provided several memos to the planning board about, you know, history of the subdivisions and, you know, where the planning board should be considering the driveway. And then as far as I know, then they started applying for the jurisdictional determination from DEC, and that's been kind of like where I haven't received any further information regarding confirmation as to the driveway location. And as far as I know, I believe they've just been in front of DEC for the wetlands issue.
So the question is, how far do we take it out? Do we extend a month or 2 months?
I don't think it's that much of a hassle to just keep it on the agenda, and then if they're not ready in a month, then we can extend another month. And I'd be happy to have it out tonight if everything was ready, but it seems like we're still waiting for things, so when things are ready, we'll hear it.
According to the email that I'm reading, which is from Dawn Santiago on Friday, April 4th, okay, to Gretchen, says we do not have an update on the driveway location at this time. As was requested during our last planning board meeting, we have submitted and are under review with the DEC and are awaiting their determination. So when we requested, actually, Gretchen, so I asked for a copy of their submitted letter, and the response was that we're going by the date for the DEC JD, which was the date of the email, April 4th. So that would imply that we passed the 100-day marker.
So we did receive an email a couple of weeks ago from Dawn stating that they have not yet resolved the issues with DEC, but they contacted us on 8/28 stating that they're actively reviewing the project.
So that's not the JD, that's other issues, is the way I read that.
I'm not sure.
Well, I was always under the impression that with the jurisdictional determination, they have, if you submit a jurisdictional determination, you have 90 days, and if the DEC hasn't taken action in that 90 days, then you wait that 100 days.
10
The 10 days to get to 100. But it's almost like that other application that you had with Bach and Schiffler, was that the DEC has been taking action on it in some form. They haven't taken a no action.
Confirmation of any of that, right?
Just,
And I don't believe it's take, they don't have to take action, they have to let you know if they're going to do further review. You have to have contact which they obviously have based on this email. So I don't know where it stands in the review process.
Christina said they were still working with DEC.
public don't know what we're going to DEC means. Well, the other option is to go to an undetermined date and time until they submit materials to us. I mean, I'm just running over the options here. You can go out to October, you can go out longer, you can go to an undetermined date and time, you can request additional information.
Let's go out a month. So much.
A second that.
And maybe let's just also ask for any additional information they might have. Just a thought.
You know, I think at this point, we're well within our obligation to ask them to give us an update on what they're working with DEC, when they anticipate a response, and you're correct, Elisa, this just goes on and on where it is. So, I have a motion, a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, and perhaps Kim can work with Jim and I on some sort of communication to go to the applicant's representatives to sort of encourage them to provide us with some more information before our next meeting. And let's give them a deadline for that new information so that we have it and we're not going through this again on October 20th. Yeah, this is still an open public hearing. If there is anyone here from the public wishing to comment on this application. So I have a motion, a second, and there's a vote. Thank you. The next public hearing for this evening is that of Dove's Nest, 102 Southlands Road, site plan and special use permit. I believe that we've got a bunch coming up, so I'm going to ask him to be confirming for me. This is still before the ZBA?
Yes, it's still in front of the ZBA, it's a continuation public hearing. Because it's an unlisted action, ZBA cannot make a final
Correct.
determination until planning board.
Okay. So one of the options we have available to us this evening is to go through the seeker paperwork and correct that, so the ZBA is then able to move ahead. So, does anyone need an update on this application? Anyone on the planning board? I'll start with that. Everybody's okay with that. I will ask for public comment, so, but right now, if the planning board doesn't have any new questions or comments they want to make, then I ask Jim to take us through the seeker.
Can I just make sure that you've seen the response from Harkin regarding the phase 1 A and B?
We did.
I think that's part of the reason why we are going to take this action.
Yes, we can do that because we have the information from
Got
Harkin.
it. Okay.
Thank you, though, for reminding us.
So, again, it's an unlisted action, so we need to go through the short EAF form. So I'll just read out the questions and we'll go through them. So we do this formally. First question, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
No.
Will the proposed action result in a change of use or intensity of use of land? Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Will the proposed action have an impact on a CEA? And the answer is no, we have none in the town. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walking? Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? And will the proposed action impact existing public-private water or public and private wastewater facilities? Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will the proposed action result in adverse change to natural resources? Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? And will the proposed action create a hazard to the environmental resources or human health? So answering all no, at this point, the proposed action for the seeker, the proposed action seeking approval to install the ground-mounted solar in front of the principal residence on historic property in the R10 zoning district. With the planning board as lead agency, we have now determined that there is no or small impact that may occur as a result of this action. So I'll ask you to
I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I think because it's seeker, and I'll call the board. Denise?
Aye.
Sharon? Greg?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
So that means you're in secret, but not legal resolution.
Incorrect, which we can't do, but I can ask if there's anyone here from the public wishing to comment on this application. I also believe we could close the public hearing. I don't, since there's no one here from the public, there has been public comment in the past, there is no more tonight. If the planning board so feels that this is correct, I take a motion to close the public hearing.
Yeah, I move that we close it.
I have a motion, a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. So at this point, we're just continuing to align with the CPA, correct?
Yes, so ZBA, they're at a public hearing for Wednesday's meeting upcoming. I'll let them know that the seeker has been done at the planning board. My guess is that the ZBA can consider closing the public hearing, which they may. They've also have had the public hearing open for a few sessions, and they have received comments. So you typically, I think, perhaps if they close the public hearing, a resolution could be prepared by October 15th for the ZBA meeting.
So we continue into the
October
20th
20th,
meeting
yeah.
For old business.
under old business. May I have that motion?
So moved.
Motion second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? One more time.
I'm done.
No, well, no.
I mean, but first,
This
is pretty easy.
For tonight, we're done. Thank you very much. So the next public hearing for this evening is that of John Hetherington, 224 South Bridge Turnpike, site plan and special use permit, solar installation. Good evening. Is it DEC we're still waiting on?
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if I could just email this or what, but yeah, we're waiting on the DEC still. We submitted everything on September 9th and we're just waiting for an answer from them. I just wasn't sure if I had to come and tell you that.
Well, you didn't have to.
Okay.
You could have told us in writing.
Yeah.
Skipped a trip, but it's nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
And just to check in personally and see how you're doing. Again, anything from the planning board at this point? Are we still have an open public hearing? Once again, does anybody see a particular reason to, is there anyone here from the public wishing to comment on 224 Salisbury Turnpike?
The only thing I'd say, Melanie, before closing is that if you just submitted you submitted the DEC on September 9th, if there's a...
September 9th, yeah.
Yeah, so being that it could potentially be 90 days as opposed to 62, you might want to just continue it until
Okay.
you can continue discussion of it, but then just keep it open until you get closer to that 62-day threshold.
Okay, so I would take a motion to continue to October 20th.
So moved.
Which is looking very busy night. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Well, thank you.
No problem.
So
So,
listen, next time, check in with Gretchen before.
Okay.
If you're still waiting, you can certainly pass that information.
I did let Courtney know, and she did want somebody here just in case. there's-
okay. Oh, that actually reminds
So
me.
I did ask.
I don't know if, I have like the green slips.
Don't forget it.
Yeah, okay.
Well, just stay in communication with Gretchen.
Sure.
If we can save you a trip, we will do so. But we're always happy to see you.
Yeah, you guys, so happy.
And what's happening? Well, the public hearing starts at 6:05. So, depends if you fall in the same order, and if we have, a lot depends on, check with Gretchen.
For
She'll let
sure.
you know what's a good proposed time.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much.
The fourth public hearing this evening is that of Andrea Novick, 349 Acker Brook Road, for a minor subdivision of 3 lots. And again, Kim, this is still before the ZBA, correct?
Yes, they're up for a public hearing, first public hearing for Wednesday.
Good evening, Mark.
Good evening. They're representing Andrea Novick for proposed 3-lot minor subdivision. You just heard from Kim also that this application is also in front of the zoning board of appeals for 2 area variances, and it's related to existing accessory structures that were located on this parcel. So, and I'll be able to detail that information in my presentation. So, this application is for 3-lot minor subdivision. Total parcel size is 19.9 acres, located on the easterly side of Acton Road. This parcel was created by previous subdivision, as a 4-lot subdivision on Acton Road, and this was one of the lots. So on this parcel is Energy Rhinebeck has residence and several accessory structures located in this area. And so this is the middle parcel. It's actually parcel, it's actually 4B. So this is parcel 4A, 4B, and 4C. All the, so it's in the RC5 zoning district, therefore you need a minimum of 5 acres per lot. There's a summary right here of all the lot areas for these for the 3 proposed parcels. Configuration for these parcels is based on also zoning requirements for RC5 regarding frontage, setback, lot width at the building line, any of those zoning requirements are required in RC5. So once again, so this parcel is where Andrea resides with multiple accessory structures. Leading to that is it's an existing driveway that goes this way, and then there's a small loop right here. And so part of this application is to be able to provide access, obviously providing access to the parcel. But then when you go to parcel 4A to the north, the proposal is to make this a common driveway. And so it would meet, this plan shows meeting the requirements for a common driveway with pull-offs and there's some drainage that's also associated with it. What I show here in this upper right-hand corner of the subdivision map is actually, this is, and so there will be easement and maintenance agreement associated with this. And so this is just the, I was just detailing the width of that. The width is 30 feet wide, right? And so that width is up through here. And so that provides common access for both lot number 4A, or 4B, and 4A. And so obviously the common portion ends here, once again goes home, and then there's a small area through here that provides access to lot number 4A. And that's actually delineated right here, so it's common portion, and then this is an easement that allows access into lot number 4A. We had, at the site visit, there were 2 members of the planning board and the CAB, which had a site visit. We had extensive conversation about this common driveway versus individual access to this parcel, which I'll let them discuss after my presentation. So then also on lot number 4A, provided driveway access and grading, the location of the residence that's proposed, and then also advanced test holes witnessed by the health department for both parcels. So test holes through here to and get testing to determine suitability for on-site sewage disposal. That's been done for 4A and 4C also. previous to this, prior to this application, I had prepared a plan for Andrea that was approved by the Dutchess County Health Department for water supply and on-site sanitary disposal for lot number 4B. So then, going to lot number 4C, provided individual access for access to this home site that's located right here. And once again, in this area, did some field testing witnessed by the Dutchess County Health Department, and it's suitable for on-site water supply and wastewater disposal. This is individual driveway, shows grading through here, it's difficult to see on this plan, no steep grades, relative easy, utilizing contours for access into this. There's a small drainage area that goes from south to north, so there's an existing culvert that will be expanded in the common driveway area. Water runoff flow through this. Same thing, culvert located here, just for site runoff. Submitted also with this subdivision plan, and also to both the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals. They requested, and I made copies for the planning board, requested photographs for all the accessory structures. That's included, and then also included plans that show, and these are copies of all the structures located on that, lot number 4B. And then also a sightline analysis from Active Brook Road provided to the planning board, just a visual analysis from Active Brook Road and some aerial photography showing the location of the proposed development. Since this is also consideration of the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals, choice for this board whether to do a non-realty subdivision just filed, but I believe I'll have design and approval for on-site water supply and sewage disposal that can be included as part of this application. Choice of the board whether they just can either file them individually after consideration of approval for the subdivision, or it can be included as part of the application. Sightlines for both these driveway access points were approved by the Town of Rhinebeck Highway Department. And also for this and this, and then there was also, once again, a lead to part of the discussion with the board members and the CAB. There was actually a location here that was approved for individual access to this, but the choice was to create this as common to avoid, it would require some significant clearing along Active Brook Road in order to have adequate sight line.
Okay. All right, Jim?
Nothing really substantial since the last presentation last month. We did discuss the fact that this is a conventional subdivision, so that's why we are looking at a minor subdivision and special use permit. The only new comments are obviously that you're in front of the ZBA, and that there are parking rec fees that have to be paid as part of the subdivision. But other than that, it's really a discussion about the 3 lots as a conventional subdivision.
Okay, the site visit was conducted, and I had the exciting Sean made that site visit.
Yes. John not being in the room at the moment.
Also,
Mark?
Benjamin was there too.
Oh,
She was
I
there.
apologize.
What were we calling it? It was A, B, and C in the field, so.
Yeah, A, B, C.
Okay. We drove up the new driveway alignment and we walked the site to where the building site was going to be, and it's actually quite open there. And the site that's going to be developed is very well isolated from the roadway and from the adjoining properties by a ledge and a significant tree stand. That tree stand and probably part of the ledge would probably have to be disrupted if that alternate drive were to be developed. So I concur with Mark's assessment that that's probably not the wisest choice. It is being planned currently within the family, but it would be, I think, easy enough to make the transition with the placement of this driveway kind of being behind those accessory buildings from the house. Gives it a little bit more isolation, a little bit more privacy. When you enter the site, you go through this really nice apple orchard. It's really kind of cool, and none of that is going to be destroyed. They are going to have to widen the drive in order to make it the appropriate width.
These are the apple trees.
Right, but those, I was told those are going to remain. So it's actually, it's a very nice and pleasant presentation of the site, and I think it's the best way to go about it.
At first, before I was on the site, I was kind of astonished at the number of accessory structures. But then I found, first of all, that they were built at the same time as the house with building permits. And when I was at the site, the topography changes so much, and there are so many trees and so many shrubs that when you're standing in one place, you see hardly any structures. So you really have to move around the property to look at the structures. That eased my mind a bit for the idea of sharing this driveway, which is going past a house and a bunch of structures, because basically you don't really see them that much from the driveway. And as Craig mentioned, if the property A sold eventually in the future to someone else who wanted their own driveway, it is possible to create one. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Other planning board members?
I'm speaking for Sean, he had to leave, but he said he would love a third driveway, but as a family compound, I see no further issue.
Anyone else? Planning board. All right, I will then open it up to the public. Is there anyone here wishing to comment on this application? Yes.
Linda Kagan, 373 Agricultural Road. So my property is right next to 4C, my new lot. My only request, by the way, Andy's son and his wife were kind enough to show me around, which was pretty cool. Because you never know how your house looks or how their house looks from the other property. So it took me a while to even find my house, but then I built a team car, I can see. So my only request, and I've asked them, is, and I don't know if I'm within rights or whatever, but hopefully it's just a friendly thing. I really ask that, like, trees and bushes, their new house is not set back far enough that the existing trees and bushes don't sort of mask it for the most part, because it's a very pristine view right now. That they be added as part of the plan to sort of maintain, I don't know, I've been to so many meetings, I've heard about so many view issues, but I don't know which ones make sense or not. So that's really my only request, and it looks like a really cool plan otherwise.
Where would you like to see it?
So for,
I get to use this. Okay.
so this is for C, and my property line is right here. There are a lot of trees, but of course, where there aren't is sort of this spot, which is where I can see directly from my bedroom upstairs, which is, looks straight down to this. which is not an issue for me. I was just asking that some trees and bushes be placed somewhere between here and the property line. That would help sort of, blend the house into the rest of the greenery, which is around all the other structures on the property. So that's pretty much it. I was just curious, how many feet between here and, this is our sort of joint property line and the driveway. Did I do that? Not a power.
Seems like that's about 190 to that point.
Uh-huh.
It's 190, but that's still south, probably another 25. So
Yeah.
215.
Yeah, I mean, Acrohook, as we all know, is such a busy road that, just, I don't know if there's any way to kind of slow down the traffic, because, they're going to be obviously using, as I do, to get on the road, and it's a bit of a, a prayer and wish when you're exiting your driveway that you're going to be okay. So that's pretty much it.
Traffic on Acrohook.
When those cars come around,
My cars eventually come around.
well, I've had the experience, so.
So, I'm assuming you raised that when you met with your neighbors?
No, because Andy wasn't there. But, we talked about it a little bit, and while I was sitting here, and now that I've seen the whole plan, I just texted her and asked her, would she be amenable to that? Hopefully, that'll be the case.
So, Mr. Kim is still for the ZBA?
Yes, it is in front of the ZBA, but because this is an unlisted action, ZBA can't take final action until seeker's done. Again, at this upcoming meeting, it's just the first public hearing, so there wouldn't be a decision ready anyway, but just to keep that in mind for purposes of coordinating between the two boards.
So time-wise, is it important to look at seeker this evening, or do we have another meeting to do that?
October 6th. If you want to.
You're saying,
Because October's gonna be one of those months where the ZBA meeting occurs before the second month, the next, on this schedule. So if you wanna do it tonight, or if you wanna do it October 6th, that could, be an option.
if it works for the board, then we would continue this to 2 weeks out to October 6th and do the seeker determination at that time. Then that will put us in line with you, correct?
Yes.
All right.
I think on the 20th. And then instead of the 20th, is taking a site plan review.
It was 6th for seeker. and
6th
then
for
we-
seeker, yeah, is that
Yeah, and
what
then
we
we would
do?
just continue it then to the.
We do the 20th then for the site plan
Yeah, because
review?
then by the time, assuming, again, it's the first meeting, so, depending on the comments we receive, but if it's similar to tonight, the board may close the public hearing, and if they close the public hearing, then they would be on for October
20?
Well, 15th, October 15th for the ZBA,
Okay.
and then they could be granted the
It's
variance.
like something like that.
Okay. Does that work
Yeah.
for everybody? All right, so I need a motion to continue the public hearing to October 6th.
So
For seeker,
And the 20th for site.
and then the 20th, do we do both continuations
sorry.
tonight?
I don't think you have to do it both, because it will be on the October 6th, you can
Right,
take it
we're
there.
just, we're continuing now to October 6th for the seeker determination, and at that time we'll continue it again to the 20th, to try to move that along. Let me ask if there's anyone else from the public here wishing to comment on this application. Okay, I have a motion, please. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. The next public hearing for this evening, we've got a whole bunch tonight, if we're this busy, is at a W. Gary Lee, 399 Mill Road, site plan review, storage shed installation. Again, Kim will fill us in on where it is in the ZBA track.
So for ZBA, it is up for first meeting of the public hearing at the next meeting.
Okay. So we've got the same machinations to figure out here.
With the exception that meet is a type 2 action, so we don't have to wait for seeker from you.
All right, we'll get back to you. Good evening, Gary. How are you? I believe so I believe, do you have anything that you need to report on this application, or turn to the site visit?
Only the follow-up that I was requested to make last time, which was the topography on the drawing.
Right.
Right, and there was a question about gravel, because there were some different gravel amounts. I did speak with Ed Mattock. He said from the building perspective, he has no concerns about the gravel placement. The gravel is going to be probably a maximum of 420 if I choose to completely gravel the area around the generator, the tank, etc. There was a board member last time who suggested, well, you might want to consider just looking at putting, 2x4s or something, or 4x4s, and just doing some surrounding the gravel. If we do that, it'll be a couple of hundred square feet of gravel. So we'll look into that, but the builder said, the constructor said he'd prefer to wait till he gets to the site when he's doing a bit of clearing, see what tree roots there are, etc., etc. So it'll be between 200 and 400 square feet-ish.
Jim?
So we got the site plan with the topography, as Jamaica said, and that's great, appreciate it. The only real comment I have is that it does show that the proposed pad now is over a couple feet in elevation. You go from about 132 or 33 or so up to about 138. So depending on how this is put in there, you're going to have to dig into the hillside a little bit or put down, or put the gravel.
So when we remove the shrubbery, the low shrubbery that was there, I think the ladies that came saw that, is there's actually a little bit of a dig in where the area is here already. That topography line there really goes round the edge. So they can describe it. They saw it on site.
Right, that's why I said I think the site visit will help inform the discussion, but we are looking at either a little bit of earthwork or higher up in the ground on one side or the other. And that's really why we ask for things like topography, so we can better understand what we're looking at.
Well, why don't I ask for the site visit report?
Okay, so when we said to the site visit, it was really good that we went, because we walked out to where the shed is actually going to go. If you stood there, you realize that we're down here, and then there's the hill here, that the road is over there, and anybody driving north on the road, it's a hill and it's a curve. They're going to be looking at the road, they're not going to be looking at the shed. And anybody coming from going south isn't going to be able to see it at all. And when you're standing there, where the shed's going to be, the hill is about my height. So it's not going to be seen very much at all, just maybe the small parts of it.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see how the natural topography will create a really nice buffer there. There might be, like, if you're really looking for it, a glimpse of the generator where there could be one small tree or shrub put there, but it's very barely a necessity given the topography. Also, the placement of it, which is hard to tell from this map, there's like a natural depression almost where the site would be. It feels like a perfect spot for it. It doesn't feel like there would actually be much earth to move. It feels like the gravel will fill it in perfectly, and it will feel well sited. So I have no problems with it. Like in these pictures, it almost feels closer to the road. When we were there, it felt farther away, and that knoll felt higher. So as standing in it, we were like, wow, it feels more tucked away than we expected. So I think these pictures, if anything, it's going to be even better.
Other planning board members, comments?
did want to note, you got a clear jurisdictional determination from DEC, so we're good on that process.
Yeah, well, it is a scenic road, and I don't see where this addition is really going to have a negative impact on, the appearance, the quality, or the rural nature of the drive. And I think it's ideal placement, given how you're going to use it, how you need access for the tanks, and it seems to make sense to me.
Anyone else? Anyone here from the public? All right. Kim, timing, and what about closing the public hearing?
You can probably close the public hearing for this one. At the close of the public hearing, you'd have 62 days. And if the ZBA does in fact also close a public hearing, then they'll probably have their decision ready through October, so.
All right, how do you feel about closing the public hearing?
I move that we do that.
Or is there anybody, did we ask if anybody wants to? Yeah, okay, so yeah, I will second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor of closing the public hearing? And so now we need a motion to continue the public hearing,
Well,
or
you
not,
just
excuse me,
closed
to continue
to October
review
20th.
to October 20th?
20th.
Okay, so this will go under old business at the October 20th meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. See you soon.
Thank you.
The sixth public hearing this evening. I just said the sixth, I didn't say the last. I said the sixth, emphasizing a point here. Is that of Maricopa, Richard Kolchansky, 8 to 10, Schatzel, site plan and special use permit for an HVAC installation. Oh, one,
Well,
okay. Both
Richard is here. Richard is here. So I'm Lawrence McCann, representing Richard Kokoschensky and Maricopa, the owners of this building on Jackson Avenue. We met with Sean and Edna on the planning board and looked at what the possibilities were on the site, or what other possibilities might exist for locating these connectors. And then subsequent to that, based on comments they made, I met with Richard and his HVAC contractor to discuss what options existed. And pretty much concluded they had to be on the side of the building to the back. There really is no room in the back of the building. We don't want them in the front, and the other side is hard up against another building. So we're sort of stuck with that. There are indeed 3 of these. One of them is hidden behind the vehicle parking driveway in one case, and then I took another image of the building and should move further over. And there's still 3, but one is hidden behind the garbage cans. But nonetheless, there will be 3 in a row. The big concern had to do with how the line sets would run up the building. We strategized with Rhinebeck, and he felt that all the horizontals could happen at grade, right behind the units, where they'd be the least visible, and we just have 2 verticals, they call the covers gutters, but 2 vertical covers that would be painted to match the brick, which Richard did in his other building diagonally across the corner, where we installed some on the 1-story roof. But they would go up and serve at each floor. There's sort of 1 unit on each floor of the building, and if all the horizontal transfers happen outside, just above grade, then you just have those 2 vertical lines go up. And basically, they go up right alongside the existing sort of built into the wall chimneys. So they're sort of symmetrical. And that way we don't have a series of horizontal lines that's crossing in each floor. The other thing we discussed with Ed and Sean was painting the existing conduit that runs up from the electric meters also or covering it to match. Again, the brick as best as possible. Now, obviously, the brick is not a uniform color, but we get as close as we can, so it's less visible at back and a little shadow line too much as you can see. As I say, there really is no other place around the building to place these. It was pointed out they will be up on stands of upgrade just for snow and so forth, so that between 12 and 18 inches of upgrade, but they're still not going to be any more visible than they are in the rendering there. It seems to be the only way we can do it. We did discuss putting them on the roof. It came up as a question at the meeting. And I think at the last meeting here, the problem is this is a 3-story building quite exposed, and there's nothing taller between it and the river. And there is really no good access to the roof. There's that ladder up the outside of the building, but as the contractor pointed out, you know, if we have snow and the units go out, someone's got to scale this. It's not a very pleasant thing to do in there. So that's basically what they very often put a grade where they could be reached in emergency readily if they had to be. The other discussion that we interestingly had was that, you know, we're getting applications like all the time. You're getting applications all the time. And this is kind of the current state of our technology, and Sean spoke to this, because he installs a lot of these in commercial buildings. It's the current state of technology, but technology, I like to think, is going to continue to change and improve, and it may not be too far in the future that we're pulling these out and using some other system. So, you know, I think we spend a lot of time worrying about exactly where these go and how visible they are, and it's a legitimate concern. But, you know, if you think about the general principle in historic preservation, that is it something that could be moved or undone at some point without doing great damage, I think generally the answer is yes with this. So it's just something to bear in mind. We're not talking about making a permanent change to a building that's going to ruin the building. We're dealing with current technology as we transition to electricity, because we hope at some point we're for more renewable resources, but there may well be other things in the future that address how we heat and cool buildings. So anyway, I don't know if Richard, you wanted to say anything, but I'm happy to take any questions or anything they want to report on her.
Jim, is there anything you want to add?
No, just maybe with the story.
Okay, then I'll ask, I guess, Edna, you're the lone representative here.
Order.
Okay. Sean left his comments with Sharon, so Edna, go ahead.
Okay, I think this is a good solution. I very much like the horizontals being at grade. And the most visible improvement is covering the conduit, because it was very visible.
So I think it's, I couldn't bring.
The electrical conduit
Oh,
Yeah,
in the middle, yeah.
that is a great improvement. So I think it's a good plan.
Sharon?
Well, Sean just said that they'll paint to match the building, and other than that, he had no issues.
Is there anyone here from the public?
I just want to add,
Sure.
I mean, I wasn't on the site visit, but I did review your plans. I noticed that these are just like Photoshopped in, right? You took this and you pasted it on there. There's another one here.
Yeah, because there's one for each floor.
Okay, are the garbage cans going to be there forever?
Well, no, but I mean, there's a car there and
Is
something.
the car going to be there forever? I mean, if you got the keys and maybe move the car so you can see the building. I mean, you did a little bit of Photoshop work here on the cans themselves to Photoshop the cans in.
Yeah, because they were in the photo,
But-
right, yeah.
Yeah, what should be in the photo is, you know, what we're likely to see.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would support maybe painting this chassis if it can be painted, because that will make the chassis a little less.
They say that they can be painted, it's kind of hard to do that without it getting, you know, coming up the work, so to speak.
And also in the HAPAC manual, is there anything that's said about the practice of clustering utilities where it's possible?
I don't think so, but I mean,
Because
that's always a good principle. Yeah.
It's nice that you included this conduit on, like you painted the mast of the, you know, the galvanized
Right.
mast. And sometimes you have problems getting paint to stick to galvanized.
Well, we could put a wrap around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In any case, it does give you more things to look at. Now, it's a party wall, but I don't think there's ever going to be, it's one lot, so there's going to be there's no prospect of anything ever being developed here.
No, all those windows would have to go away.
Or there would at least have to be some separation.
Right.
So you're always going to see this, even though it's not really a principal elevation. So I wish a little bit more thought had been put into it, maybe even just moving this one so that it's a little bit closer to the back. And as for putting the condensers on the roof, I understand that it's harder to get to them. But it doesn't have to be easy, it just has to be possible. You know, it has to be safe and possible.
Right.
And I don't think we should be in the practice of making sacrifices for the historic character or historic appearance because it's easier on the HVAC guy.
Right. No, you have a very good point. It's not so much the HVAC guy, but the fact that the units, in that exposed location are more likely to
And
be
I would just counsel the type of anchors that you put in there, make sure they're non-ferrous so that they don't rust and cause falling to the brick, because the things that you add to the brickwork can have deleterious effects over time. So that's what I have.
In fact, there are those stars around the building where they have the rods that hang all together, and we're kind of running up along those, again, next to the chimneys. But you're right. All very good points.
Anyone else?
Can I just add something to that? Besides the painting of that conduit, which will help tremendously, this historic building, what's really going to be great is not having those 3 white window units sticking out. That makes a huge difference, in my opinion. That's, we all know what a problem those are in historic sites, historic buildings. So this will alleviate that, and we'll do the best we can with the color of those.
Yeah, well, and also attitudes change over time. When I was in graduate school, this was the recommendation for the window units because they're reversible.
It does change, and I don't know if we're going to be ripping them out soon, but
but when the
things
mini,
do change.
that was right when the mini splits were starting to really come out onto the market, and they have a lot of flexibility. In that they don't have to occupy a historic window. You can put them in the back, or on a lesser elevation, or on the roof. So I just think we should be making the best choices.
I think these are more visible in this illustration than they will be on the street.
I suspect that's true, because it's really not photoshopping so much as we're going to program.
Anyone else? Anyone here from the public?
Well, if you move the car to take the picture, somebody else can park there.
All right, we're not here to talk about that. Anyone from the public? How do people feel about an approval resolution, C-100 has one drafted? Would you like to see what that looks like?
Yes.
Okay, Jim?
Melanie, before, do you want to close the public hearing?
Well, yeah, I wanted to make sure that people wanted to do that. So, no one from the public wishes to comment, I'd like to close the public hearing. So moved. Motion second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Jim?
Approval resolution for the planning board's review for the application by Mayakopa LLC for site plan special use permit on Town Code Chapter 125 for installation of 3 heat pumps, 8 to 10 Shastle Avenue, RCH and RC overlay, reaffirming the action as type 2 for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. Based upon a review of the submitted information, finding the proposed work is consistent with the objectives and regulations of Chapter 125. With respect to the application for special use permit, finding the proposed work and intended use to be consistent with general standards, and granting the requested special use permit, conditioned upon receipt of site plan approval. With respect to the application for site plan approval, finding the work and intended use is consistent with Town Code Chapter 125, and approves the application inclusive of the site plan by Warren Temple Smith. I will update the date. Dated May 30th, 2025, revised September 9th. Authorizing the planning board chair to stamp and sign the above cited site plan upon the applicant's satisfaction with 3 conditions listed there. Reminding everyone that in taking this action, the planning board further authorizes the planning board secretary to provide the approval resolution to the applicant along with details on next steps required to finalize the process. Authorize the zoning enforcement officer / zoning administrator or building inspector to issue any required permits. And remind everyone that all plan sketches and the materials submitted to the town of Rhinebeck Building Department for any required permits, including a CO or certificate of completion, must match the materials approved by the planning board. Any submissions that do not could be rejected or subject to resubmission to the planning board.
Can I hear a motion? Motion and second, I'll pull the board. Fred?
Aye.
Edna? Aye. Sharon? Aye. Lisa? Aye. And I vote aye. Next, public hearing for this evening is that of Wayne Cliff Court LLC, 7 Wayne Cliff board site plan review for the addition of a carport and deck. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Ferrara. I'm the very lucky owner of 7 Windcliff Court. I thought it'd be beneficial to come introduce myself so you put a name to a face, given we own the property in an LLC. My wife is 33 weeks pregnant, so given it's her 3rd trimester, we're trying to limit her travel, but she is equally as excited to call Rhinebeck our hopefully soon to be home. I've been coming to Rhinebeck for about 25 years in the effort to not age myself. I'm 40, so my first trip here was 15 years old. Fell in love immediately. I've been looking on and off for properties to use as a weekend home, and we were very fortunate we found this property. I think our proposed renovation is a benefit, and I think it will be well received from my neighbors, but I'll leave that up to all of you. And with respect to anything technical, Diego is here to answer the questions that are above my pay grade.
Okay.
Okay. So to recap the project scope, basically we have a undersized existing non-conforming lot. It's an historic district, an historic preservation district, but the building itself is not a historic building. And after setbacks are set off or offset from the property lines, you can see that the front setback ends here. Basically, it's unbuildable, so anything added on to the property requires variance. And what we're seeking to build is a 20 by 20 carport on the west side of the house. It would go over the existing driveway, so no vegetation would be disturbed. It's a single-story carport with a deck on the 2nd floor, no roof or anything, cable railing up to 3'6" height, and that's basically it. It would be stone leading up to the carport with like a horizontal slat finish on the outside. If this is the most current, we can skip to the 3D visuals for a better understanding of it. This is the current building now. As you can see, it's kind of aged and corroding in some areas. But the carport would go here in this area. The garage keys would be closed off. Again, carport would be placed here. Go to the next slide, please. This is the proposed carport in this area with the horizontal slats, 2nd floor deck. Another visual looking at it straight on. And then the rear stairs going up to the 2nd floor deck, also accessible through sliding doors to the 2nd floor. And then the next slide has some renderings. Yep. Yeah, and to mention, we attended the ZBA last month. They've opened up a public hearing, so we're on the agenda for Wednesday as well.
I will catch up with that. Is there anything else?
Nothing new, just review of the view shed and potentially historic nature of the area, but nothing historic house itself.
Okay, site visit, I thought maybe make a site visit.
Tom and Sharon were there.
Okay. Tom said his remarks into the
Yes.
But we could let you read it will be an improvement to the house. I don't know how long it's been vacant.
Maybe just over a year. I purchased it from Wendy. I think it's now maybe May of '24.
But, I think it'll be an improvement, and
Didn't see any issues.
no, we have no issues with the tree. That's another issue, but
What's that?
it has nothing to do with the tree.
Oh my,
I got one too.
another few feet or the other direction, it would have been pretty scary.
Yes, just missed the house.
Just missed.
Okay,
Oh, and because it's on the corner of Morton Road and Inwood, Tom walked around, and its visibility from Morton Road is very limited.
Yeah, I drove by as well, and as soon as, if you're going northbound, as soon as you turn your head,
back of the property or coming south, there's very little visibility, and that's what you're looking for. As soon as you're driving by, it's like you're looking for it, all of a sudden it's gone. Is it what vegetation?
I was going to say, it's very well covered.
Yeah, very good.
Vegetation.
Planning board members.
This is the property, it's kind of like next to the abandoned Wincliffe Mansions.
Yeah,
area.
it's a few blocks out there.
Yeah, it's like,
We abut, but it's close, there's some space in between.
yeah, the sites don't really communicate
Exactly.
with one another.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you're not really making significant changes to the footprint, the floor plate, the height, the roof line?
No, nothing. It's an exterior renovation with exterior improvements, and the only thing going outside the footprint is that 20 by 20 carport.
And what was the date of construction of the house, around 1980 or something like that?
Yeah, it was 70 something,
Yeah.
nothing of.
And are you making like energy improvements, installations, heat
Yeah.
pumps?
The windows, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any plans for like rooftop solar or ground-mounted solar or
I
anything
know
like
that, I
that?
don't think we've gotten that far, in all honesty, but I'm all for energy efficiency and organic materials and anything going in that direction.
But it's not part of the master plan?
No,
is it?
not
Okay.
at the moment, no.
Anyone else?
I think it's a huge improvement. I really appreciate that the siding and the general exterior look is one that feels well blended with the site and nature. And I've, driven by this house for many years, having worked on that street, and I always wondered what would happen to it long term, and I think this is a very peaceful way of considering the site and not making a big impact.
I promise it will look better in real life than in this, whatever this rendering is. Thank you.
Alan Scher, I live next door to this property and I support the project. Just get rid of that tree.
I would just say for Rhinebeck, we didn't submit written comments. Obviously, it was approved because it's within the landmark district. The house is clearly not historic, but what's being done, proposed to is very sympathetic to the house and in no way detracts from the surrounding historic properties.
CBA.
Very similar to the other ones, we are at public hearing for the first public hearing for the upcoming Wednesday meeting. So we're, depending on the comments received, we can close the public hearing if there's nothing substantial, and could have a resolution for October 20th. Oh, sorry, October 15th is the ZBA meeting in October.
Yes, but we could be at the point to close our public hearing
Yes.
this evening,
Yes.
correct? And then we would be adding it to old business at the October 20 meeting, exactly the same as everything else tonight, right? So may I have a motion when we close the public hearing, unless there's someone else here? Okay, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. But now I need to add this to the October 20 agenda after old business.
I move we add it to the October 20th agenda.
Motion second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention,
Thank you.
We'll see you in a month.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Nice to
evening.
meet you. All right. Let me happily say the last public hearing for this evening is that of workforce housing, Rhinebeck site plan and wetlands permit for affordable housing units. Good evening.
We did our best to address the comments that we received at the last planning board meeting with this submission. That's recent submissions to the DOT, the health department, the village, and the Army Corps of Engineers. So we're on our way with the outside agency approvals, actively working on legal documents, the stormwater agreement and road conditions agreement. I spoke to Jim earlier today, and we decided, as far as the signs are concerned, that we're gonna work with the town board to amend the local law, so we won't have to go to the zoning variance, and we're just gonna remove the signs from the application, so that doesn't have to be a part of the current approval. We'll come back for all the signs. We did submit an updated blasting plan. As requested last month, we also submitted a sample lease agreement that prohibits barbecues on the patios or porches. And we added a detail for the retaining walls that shows the finish of the walls. That pretty much sums up what we've changed for this submission. We would respectfully request that you consider closing the public hearing today, and we asked about the approval resolution last time. We very much like to move ahead with that, if that's possible.
We have begun the drafting of it. I think Jim gave you a response. Kim can address that as well.
Yes, Jim has drafted a draft resolution. John and I are looking at it, and we'll provide comments to it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, Jim, is there anything else you need to add?
No, I think that covers most everything.
Okay, and I will open it up to planning board comments. Question?
You want to go first, or
No.
shall I? Okay. Well, thank you, first of all, for putting that detail. It was very informative seeing the landscaping blocks, and that they're, some of them have a rusticated appearance, and I think you have some variety that you can choose from. So it's not going to look like it's not going to look industrial.
Right.
So that's good. Earlier on, it was mentioned the archaeology, and the archaeology report is in your application, and they note the identification of archaeological site that is the Darling House, and their recommendation is that it be avoided,
Right.
and that it be marked on the plans and protected during construction, and I didn't see it shown on the plans.
Okay. Well, we have a plan protected. The location, I don't have the cursor, the location is over here, so we're well away from it. We're not going anywhere near it. But we can certainly add that.
It should be on the plans, and then we have the assurance that it will be protected and won't be disrupted accidentally.
That's the problem.
Also, there seems to have been a change to the open space that had been designated in front of Building 1. That seems to be a little bit more wooded now.
That was as requested to preserve as many trees as possible.
But that the town board had said that was going to serve as the open space for the development, which is the 550 square feet per dwelling unit. So if it's now wooded, is it open usable space? I mean, we're talking about some place where people can throw a frisbee, or it's. Is it going to be landscaped? Is it going to be groomed? I mean, what's the nature of that?
I think the intention was to leave the trees and remove underbrush so that it would be like lawn type area. I think that's the plan.
Okay.
But
because they're behind
Just for
building.
passive recreation?
It could be, sure. Right.
Passive as opposed to active,
Right.
but still open space.
And then there's an area that's designated behind Building 3, that's 7,000 and some odd square feet. Is that supposed to be making up the difference, or is that?
That is an area that's intended to be part of the open space. I mean, there's, the rest of the site is technically, could be considered open space as well.
Also, there was, in your application, there was a report from Ty and Bond about the wastewater. They're consulting engineers for the village.
Correct.
And one of the things that they mentioned is that you were using a downhill force main, which they don't recommend.
Yep, and we responded to that. We've addressed it with technical changes that will address those issues.
Because what I understood from what they were writing is the reason why you don't want that is because when the pump is going to function and it's going to push the waste down the pipe, and then the pipe is gonna be, it's gonna evacuate, it's gonna fill with the stale air, it's gonna fill with sewage air. And then the next time the pump cycles, all that stinky air is gonna get pushed out all
No,
at
it has
once.
nothing to do with
Okay.
the odors. It has to do with the water hammer that can result.
And water hammer was gonna.
So we have an air release vacuum release valve at the high point of the force main that will address the vacuum and that issue. We've also added a soft close check valve in the pump station that will alleviate those issues, as well as a VFD starter on the motors themselves. So it starts slowly and shuts down slowly.
Okay, so, and that'll kind of keep the
That'll
pipe
address the water.
charged, yeah, okay. And,
So you said you're still addressing that?
We've addressed it, we've submitted it, it's revised and submitted to the village for their comment.
Okay.
Okay.
Do
But
we
there's-
all, have you talked to Christian Patch about that, about his comments or not?
That's not really Christian's
Okay.
comment.
they had also said that HDPE pipe was not permitted, nor was PVC. It was in their letter.
Again, we've addressed their comment, we've revised it, and submitted it, so.
Okay.
Change the-
Well, I still saw that
Change the material.
So
There should be no reason we couldn't use PVC. I don't know why they don't want it, but we've addressed.
Yeah, I know Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Authority is also,
Water and wastewater authorities.
I know, they want the double iron, and that's just kind of the way things go. From what I understand, it's a much more commonly available practice of joining, fusing the pipes together is very robust and well understood. Is that going to be part of the plan to do any horizontal directional drilling? So that pipe would be.
That will be determined in the construction phase of the project. Right now, everything is going to be open cut, but if it looks feasible to do direction drill, I'm sure they'll look at that.
Okay. But you've addressed the concerns from Pine Box?
Yes.
Okay. What about the stormwater retention? Is it, everything on the north side of the property seems to drain down to a stormwater practice that's in very close proximity to the Rhinebeck Hill. And I'm concerned about the accumulation of salt in the wintertime, and where is that going to go? And is it going to be washed into the most vulnerable part of the project, which is that low-lying area?
So the stormwater practice, the long, thin stormwater practice there is designed to collect and treat the asphalt access road, which will collect and address 99% of the issues that you're concerned about. There's a small portion of the access road that can't get into that practice, but we've oversized that practice to accommodate additional, basically providing additional treatment that would ordinarily provided for the rest of the road.
So things like antifreeze, motor oil, kind of things that accumulate on roadways?
This is actually a bioretention filter, so
Okay.
it's actually going to work better than a regular stormwater pond.
And I'm still not seeing a connection to the sidewalk. I appreciate that you put the footman path in there. But it's not, it doesn't make for a walkable connection. It goes over a pretty significant hill. And the other sidewalk connection, which is more in the center of the lot, seems to dead end on the Wells Manor property. And I'm wondering if there's some sort of an impediment with the neighbors, that they don't want people from Locust Hill walking across their properties. I think people are done.
I'm not aware of any impediment. That's not our property, so we brought the sidewalk up to the property line as was requested, and for future connection to that property. So that's what we have. The wood chip path, like I said, is going to be field located, to avoid any disturbance. It is not going to be ADA accessible, but the plan is that sometime in the future that property will be developed and there will be a full, sidewalk that connects to the other sidewalk system.
But as it's planned, it's not going to be something that will be shoveled out in the wintertime.
No.
The leaves aren't going to get raked away from it in the fall.
It's possible that the maintenance of the property could go through with a leaf blower or something and clear out the leaves. But I don't believe shoveling with a witch doctor is
And then, no easements for the utilities either, because the utilities seem to run in front of the wastewater treatment plant through property that is owned by the hospital and by the waste.
Right, and we have, what we have right now is that it's, we have a plan that will try and keep it in the right of way as best we can, and we would adjust the connection point to the village sewer collection system to avoid having to go through those supervised projects.
Okay, and that's on the current set of plans?
Yes.
It doesn't show it going through those?
No.
Properties. Yeah, that's all I have at the moment.
Believe, Sharon, anything at this point?
The only thing is, I know the wood chip path keeps coming up. Obviously, it's like, it would be great if it was a paved path and it was the long-term one. With that being said, I appreciate the applicant doing what they can to find a solution, knowing there's a larger plan in place here. And so I think there are certain things that that will have, that it's a placeholder, and I think it's better than nothing. And so I appreciate that attempt, and I'm excited that there's a bigger solution coming in the future.
Edna?
I would like to propose that we add 2 conditions to the approval resolution. And I would like to hear what the rest of the board thinks about this. These are suggestions that have been made to the applicant, and they prefer not to make the changes that have been recommended. One of them would be a condition that a sidewalk would be provided from the end of the sidewalk at Building 6 to Wells Manor Lane, separated from the access road by a tree lawn, to provide a safe, appealing walking route to Astor Drive. And the rationale, which I would hope that we would provide to the town board, who would be reviewing this condition, is that there's reason to believe that a large portion of the residents of the development will be workers at the hospital. I mean, that is the largest universe of applicants from which residents will be chosen. And if you take a look at the list of new Vance job openings at Northern Dutchess Hospital, and you eliminate the doctors and the registered nurses, I took a quick look. The average hourly salary is $18 an hour. So there are going to be many workers at the hospital who will qualify for residence at Locust Hill. I did the same thing.
You did the same thing I did.
Okay.
I looked at new bands.
So anyway, the distance from Wells Manor Lane to the hospital along Astor Drive is 4/10 of a mile. I clocked it. That is a 10-minute walk. And to walk from any of those buildings down to Wells Manor Lane is another 5 or 10 minutes. So clearly this is walking distance to the hospital. A lot of people are going to be walking in early morning when other cars are leaving, driving north. There's really no way to walk against the traffic. You're going to be walking with the traffic. So, you know, walkers are going to risk being hit perhaps or splashed with rain or snow. And I think a safe, accessible sidewalk that encourages walking will benefit residents, the town, the village, and the hospital. So that's number one. And number two is to provide a tree lawn between the access road and the sidewalk that goes from building 3 to Rhinebeck Road. And that was proposed for a number of reasons, and the more I thought about it, it seemed to me that much of the traffic on this sidewalk is likely to be kids. They're going to be walking, biking, skateboarding, going to the library, the town pool, the park, and a tree lawn between the sidewalk and the road is going to increase safety and, again, prevent people from being splashed. Also, given the location of the road in relation to the sun, trees have to be located on the east of pedestrians rather than the west to provide shade for most of the day. When this was discussed, the applicant stated that the change would require removal of some additional trees. I believe that the removal of a few additional trees to provide a tree lawn is going to make the sidewalk safer, shadier, and actually more attractive from Rhinecliff Road. So what do you all think? Should we add this as a condition?
So, may I ask, I'm confused.
Well, may I first ask the board?
You can ask the board. I just want to know what you're asking the board, because I think it might be not practical, and I think if before the board makes a decision, they should know whether or not this has to go back to the town board, which is not practical. So I just want clarification, if I could, before it goes to the full board, what resolution suggestion for resolution number 1 is.
It is that there be a sidewalk
Where?
along the access road from, I think it's building 6, down to Wells Manor Lane.
So you're referring to from here to here?
Yes.
And so I would suggest that this road is 26 feet wide to accommodate fire trucks per the fire department's request. It's much wider than it needs to be for a one-way road. I would respectfully suggest that a much more practical way to handle this is to actually paint a sidewalk on the road rather than requiring additional excavation and additional tree removal to create a sidewalk in that location. And that's a common thing. It's going to be a low traffic road. It's one way to the north. I think that would be a pretty reasonable way to handle that.
It really doesn't meet the goal of separating pedestrians from traffic and keeping them safe from, snow and water splashes. My objective here is to make it as appealing as possible for what I think is probably going to be like at 35 people, 50 people who are going to be walking to the hospital and back every day. And rather than taking a car out and taking it over to the hospital where there is limited parking, I think every possible effort should be made to make it as appealing as possible to walk. That's the goal.
I agree, and I also think it's not fair to force people to walk in the street when there's an opportunity to organize a sidewalk along the roadway. And I agree with Edna that the painted sidewalk that doesn't quite get you there. Are your utilities all aligned on the roadway?
They're in the
So
road.
everything is in the road, yes. So you're not doing any trenching beyond the road?
No, because our goal was to preserve as many trees as possible. And anything we do at this point will require additional treatment.
I understand that, but, you know, after having removed, I don't know how many hundreds of trees, if you have to remove another 10 or so, to put in place something that will actually encourage people to walk instead of drive, then I consider that well spent.
I'd like to, I can't speak for all the planning board members here. I appreciate Ed is putting this together. I am not prepared to discuss it this evening myself. I think we have 2 planning board members who aren't here who should be part of this discussion going forward. I'd be happy to have you answer the questions that Ed has raised. I can't speak for others, but I certainly know I need to think about this.
The other recommendation is you have a sidewalk going down to Rhinebeck Road. I think it's important to put a tree lawn between the sidewalk and the road, because I do believe you're going to have a lot of kids going down that road, because the library is almost across the street, as is the pool, and kids ride bikes and they take skateboards. And why would you want them walking right next to the road?
So, and are you talking about on this side?
Exactly.
Can you clarify what a tree lawn would be exactly?
I'm sorry?
Can you define a tree lawn, just to clarify?
It's a dividing strip, typically of lawn, with trees on it. They're all over the village, between the road
But
and the sidewalk.
it's not what people are walking on, it's just the separator between.
It's a separator between the sidewalk and the
And
road.
the idea is that it creates a safety.
It creates additional safety. In this case, it will actually create shade, which otherwise won't be there.
There's a lot of regrading that's going on in this area, a lot of elevation changes. And maybe it's just an adjustment of the center line.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Well, at the last meeting, I'd like to point out, I felt that Andy, Charlie, myself, and our whole team put a lot of time in to try to answer some of the concerns in regards to the landscaping, the lawn, and so forth. I felt that we went as far as we could. The concern about walking on Astor Drive, it's not feasible. It's not. And I think to bring it up at this point is not fair. You're talking about a sidewalk in the village. You're talking about easements. You're talking about other people's property. I just don't think at this point where we're talking about, yeah, I just don't.
You know, the sidewalk down to Wells Manor Lane was in place, and then it was taken out.
We never showed it.
Well, I remember an agreement that it was going to be there at one point.
Well, was that part of the concept plan that was adopted by the town board?
I believe it is in the town code that defines the
No,
workforce
no,
housing
no,
zone.
incorrect.
That a walking connection to the sidewalk network of the village is required.
Incorrect. All of the town code is incorporated in the concept plan, which was incorporated in the June rezone. So to extrapolate to other portions of the code is inappropriate. So I request.
Can I have some clarifying things? And I agree with Melody. I think we are getting, when the request is to add things potentially to the approval resolution without our full team here is probably premature, first of all. Secondly, just taking away the sidewalk for a moment, I appreciate the idea of a painted sidewalk as trying to find a bridge of solution here. I think that's what this is. Where are we going to find solutions that everyone can feel okay about? What is the likelihood, though, of getting access from the end, just hypothetically, if there was a painted sidewalk to the end that touches to Astor Drive? I mean, there is a little strip of private property. Is there any opportunity to talk to that owner and to confirm that that can happen?
So
That little remaining
The
piece.
village owns it.
The village, so the
the village owns this piece of property which we have an easement on. That's
So-
how,
so
that's
they-
how our residents will be able to get to Astor.
So they will get to Astor Drive, but what we're really discussing is, in what means will they get there? On a sidewalk or on a painted sidewalk, potentially? That's what we're discussing.
And we believe we have the right to paint that sidewalk in that road, in that easement, for
So
people to walk.
if that becomes a solution that the board at some point felt good about, walk me through what the measures will be around plowing to ensure there's not excess snow in that strip that would create a challenge for the walkers. Can we ensure the safety also through imminent weather?
Sure, so, I mean, this road has curbs.
Yeah.
And the standard for plowing is that you plow to the curb, right? So if the paved sidewalk is up against the curb, it's going to be cleared as part of that plowing process. So,
And how many do we know this number? How many cars, it's an exit only, it's one way. How many cars on average do you anticipate exiting through that, that road on a daily basis?
I'd have to pull up the traffic study.
Okay. I mean, I'm just curious because there is, I agree, a sidewalk will always be better. And I want to be mindful that we're still talking and our colleagues aren't here, but sidewalk is always better. I live in a road where there is no sidewalk, and it is a very walkable place. It is full of walkers, bikers, riders. So that is a part of our territory. I'm glad there isn't walking access. Let's figure out, what is feasible and what is not.
Yes, I was on the library board with someone who lives right next to Star Library. And when we have our board meetings, she would get in her car and drive to the library.
Nobody wants it.
Because
Nobody wants it.
And that's the challenge that we're faced with. And one of the fundamental bases of this project from the beginning, from the time of the comprehensive plan, was that it be located near the village so it would be walkable and close to utilities like sewage. And, we're still, now we've got a forced main situation where, still have to pump it to get it into the sewage treatment plant. And there's not an intelligible walking connection. And I haven't really seen a lot change about this plan over the past several months, and we keep bringing this up again and again and again. So I can only surmise that it's not going to get better. I don't know how many fewer trees are being cut with this plan as opposed to when we brought it up, it was 400 and some odd a couple of months ago. So,
I think there's been some improvements. The building, there was a grassy area added in front of the buildings, which was a great request by Edna. There's even this outdoor play space, having it be passive and having it be shaded, I appreciate. I think it's a good compromise with trees and outdoor space. I think there's progress. It's a complicated project. I don't think it's perfect, and that's the challenge we're under. How do we get it as great as we can and as safe as we can? And that's why so many of your comments are so valuable. And we have restraints on it that we have to be mindful of while still trying to pass a really important project in our town. I would also just say with the Star Library, we don't have a painted sidewalk. There is no lane, and that's part of the problem. There's no bike lane. I mean, people are riding bikes on 308. We should have a bike lane. We should have a walking lane. At least this does have that. So I just want to put that on record that there is progress here, but I think we need to continue the conversation with that.
And I wish the town board would throw themselves into those issues widespread across the town.
Agreed.
Those are very important directions for this town to be going in. And there should be more cooperation between the town and the village on these important planning issues. It's so important that the plans be integrated. John Clark was here from the village planning board, and he mentioned a number of ways that this plan could be better integrated with the comprehensive plan of the village.
And
So-
let me just say that these issues that are arising, that we see, that we would like more interaction with the town on, future planning, future direction. Alan is here tonight, but we also can bring those together and send them on as recommendations, things we've learned through this process, things we've learned as part of reviewing this application. We can do that. we may not be able to incorporate every good idea we have into this, remembering that this goes from a concept plan to rezoning, heavily involved with the town, whether we liked it or not, those are the cards that we were dealt. And I think we're all trying to work with that. That doesn't mean that we can't pull out of this other thoughts about how the whole process can be improved. We can continue to tell the town these things, but we have to understand the situation we've been placed in. So there are some things that I believe we would all like to see improving on, but we are getting to the point where continuing to look at the same things aren't moving us ahead. And they may be things that we cannot fix. We can't fix all these things. Most of these things were decided before they came to us. We have to bring them up, and we should bring them up as members of the planning board because we care and because we're passionate about making this the best project we can. But we have to continue to just bring those things forward. And we also have to trust that the town board understands these things and that the things that are being committed to will be enforced in the future. So that's all I want to say tonight about that. Sharon, is there anything at this point? I would like to have Edna's comments circulated to the planning board members who are not here. And if you can provide them to Gretchen, she can forward them on. You have them also, and I think any response you want to make to those in terms of feasibility, lack of feasibility, your suggestion about a striped walking path, whatever, we would like that feedback.
If I could, I pulled up the traffic study. I just want to address that question. So the projected trips entering the facility in total, exiting in the AM peak hours, 30 cars. In the PM, it's 18, and on a Saturday, it's 27. So we don't have a breakdown of which way they're going, because we don't really know, but, you know, assuming worst case scenario, it's 30 cars in the peak hours, so it's not a lot.
All right, I'd like to go on to public comment. I see somebody's ahead of you, Sue. You can get second in line. I'm happy to be second.
I recognize, Cornelia Gallo, 340 Echo Road. I recognize the planning board was handed this and the town board made many decisions. In all due respect, the traffic study is ridiculous. You have 80 units, you're going to have multiple people in the units, and you are going to have more than one car per unit. So 30 cars is ridiculous. I applaud Edna for her research. And yes, we keep talking about making it walkable, make it walkable.
Thank you. Sue? Yeah.
I'm Sue Hartshorn. I live at 35 Oakwood Lane, which is in the Gardens. Somehow, Garden Way has no sidewalks. I just want to make it comparable. And there are probably 30 or 40 people who walk safely on that, with or without their dogs, on a daily basis. I think, yes, we want a walkable connection to the village. I think that I would like to thank all of the various committee members who have worked on this project. I think I worked on it since 2006. Maybe it was 2010. It was 4 years now. But I think Delise?
Yes.
Delise said, we're beginning to go around in circles to ask for changes on the changes that we've already made. And I thank the planning board for being so specific, but I also commend the Carney Corporation for making the adjustments that they have been making since 2019, when this first came to the planning board and the town board, and then was brought to the planning board in June.
And I think you all done a magnificent job. I think all the committees have. I agree with Melody that it's time to perhaps bring this to closure as you possibly can. And we compromise this, make a win-win situation. And I think it means you do have to make compromises. You don't say, stop a project because you want 5 more trees here or 4 blades of grass there. So that I would just respectfully ask you all to close the conversation as soon as you can and hope that this project can be built so those people who want to live in affordable housing, and I use the word affordable housing, not workforce housing, to remind everybody that this was originally an affordable housing project. It doesn't mean it's only going to be housing staff members for the hospital. One of the goals was to have housing that senior citizens could live in that was less expensive than their homes, so that they could then sell their homes and have a younger generation of people come here and live here and fill the school, to keep our school as good as it can be. So I thank you, and I commend the Carney Group for making this possible and staying with it. I think that's an important thing for all of us to remember. Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay. Yeah. All right. We have a draft resolution in progress. Question was raised earlier about the opportunity or not to close the public hearing. Kim, what suggestions do you have about that?
I mean, you certainly, I'm just trying to think, because, you know, the comments from Edna, I mean, that is going to be more of a board matter to discuss. If you don't think that there's any, I guess the only thing is that if you go with that, they would need to include that on the plans, right? If they have to go for a sidewalk, they have to include it on the plans, but I mean, it's kind of,
You leave it open for written comments. Close the public hearing, leave it open for written comments.
well, I understand that you can keep it open for written comments, but I'm just saying that if the plans have to change, maybe perhaps if the plans have to change, we'll have to reopen the public hearing if it's been that, if it's substantial, I mean, it probably won't be a substantial change that might require it. If you close the public hearing, you know, you have 62 days to issue the decision. Of course, that can be extended from mutual consent. I guess the question is, do you think that there's any more information that you would need from the, from the public on this matter? I mean, the board can certainly continue their discussions without the public hearing.
My sense, and I'm speaking for myself, is that the general comments we're hearing, that we've heard some of again tonight, have been pretty consistent. I am seeing the same concerns on either side of the question being raised. I'm not hearing new concerns being brought up. I'm not hearing an issue that we haven't talked about before, which, knowing that we can in the future reopen a public hearing, comforts me, because if there is some brand new information that comes in that warrants that, I think we have the legal right to do that, as you articulated. Jen, what are your thoughts?
I defer to Kim on closing the public hearing. I was going to ask if it would be all right if I could just catch up with Andy after tonight's meeting to discuss some potential options related to what you were discussing with the painted sidewalk. I think there's some things we can do that are potential, so at least I can give them some of my thoughts before the next meeting of potential options that relate to that. I personally would prefer to see, separated sidewalk, but 26 feet is a very, very wide one-way road. Rhine Cliff Road from white line to white line is 24 feet. So we're talking 26 feet. It's wider than Rhine Cliff Road for the cars that are coming in and out of this, which is technically a private road. It's not a public road. So, again, if we're working on, trying to come to a resolution on this, I have some thoughts maybe I can share with you if you're okay with that. They're going to make the final decision, obviously, but I do a lot of pedestrian work, so maybe there's some options that will, maybe loosen this up a little bit, maybe not. So I can do that. In terms of closing the public hearing, I defer to Ken.
My feeling is, our normal process is we close the public hearing and then we move to adopt the resolution. It's just, every other application. I don't see any harm in leaving the public hearing open until we're ready to make a determination. And also, new stuff keeps coming up. This is the first time that I've heard that this is an affordable housing development where senior citizens are being encouraged to move into it and sell their houses elsewhere in the town, because that was the same formulation for the Woods when that was built. And the Woods is not affordable housing. There were 17 affordable housing units that were supposed to be in the gardens, and I have trouble finding those available. So I think there's a lot that
Right, well, I will then.
has yet to be
I will
come
retreat a little bit. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have two, what I consider valuable planning board members who are not here. So I will,
I just want to say, I think we should close the public hearing. I think we have the power to reopen it, and I think this is a unique scenario that we need to continue progress. I think we've heard a lot of public comment. It has been very clear what it is, and I think the comment around senior living was actually a more general comment related to the fact that this is an inclusive housing project for people of all walks of life, of all ages, to offer an affordable solution. I don't think it was making claims on what the target and what the strategy is around how they're going to obtain people. It's a public comment. So I don't think that was the intention. I think it's an inclusive project of affordability, and I think we should start making substantial progress in it, and closing the public hearing helps us do that, while still giving us the power to reopen it should we decide.
you want to make a motion?
I sure do. So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. I will pull the board. Right?
I think we should keep it open, so I'm going to vote no.
Edna?
I'll vote aye.
Elise? Aye. Sharon? Aye. I vote aye.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Now, there's nothing going on in the zoning board of appeals, so we don't have to go down that route. We are then now going to continue the discussion at the October 20th meeting. The public hearing is closed.
So what is the date of the October meeting?
20th.
Thank you.
No, I want to keep it on the 20th. Jim's going to be having some conversations with Andy. We will have a chance to think about what was raised this evening. And I don't think...
And I would just recommend to the board, Jim has started a resolution, and I'll be looking over it, but, think about your comments to be added to that. Edna certainly had some comments about the conditions and stuff, but, this is your opportunity as a board now to start considering this project. So just for the October meeting, just have your, some comments that need to be.
And also, if planning board members have comments they wish to forward on to Jim and Kim as they're drafting the resolution, please feel free to do that. I don't necessarily, Kim, want to wait until October 20th to hear new thoughts and comments, because that's just going to delay this unnecessarily, in my opinion. So please, others, and we'll make sure that the word gets to Tom and Sean, that if they have any comments, suggestions, questions, in my opinion, the time to get them out is now. We need to bring this to some sort of closure here and get this moving along. So we have a motion and a second to schedule this for October 20 under old business, stale business, very old business. So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jim and Andy will talk and we'll get back with you. Thank you again.
And I know that you're in touch with John and Kim, and leave them to be our representatives in communicating with you.
Thank you.
That brings us to 3 ZBA referrals, all 3 of which we have talked about this evening.
Oh, yes, it's more than good.
I turn my microphone on.
Well, so we have case number 1086, W. Gary Mead, case number 1087, Milford Court LLC, case 1088, Anthony and Rhinebeck.
And Lily, I wouldn't mind adding, they're not on this agenda, but Chris Travers, the ground mounted solar off of 308, he's also on for public hearing at the ZBA meeting. I believe that the ZBA, or the planning board had a similar referral that they were reviewing. So I don't know if you have anything on Travers. He's going to be on October 6th.
So now for tonight, so as we discussed last time, I thought that we should wait for the public hearings on this until we go through the ZBA. We haven't had the public hearing for Travers or 34 Mill Road. So those two I expected to discuss after the public hearing at the next meeting in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And it'll be a quick turnaround to get it back to the ZBA, but they will be done before the ZBA meeting.
If you-
in those 2 weeks.
Okay, that's fine. Would you prefer for Travers and 34 Mill Road, that they be kept open, public hearing kept
Yes.
open?
Yes, absolutely.
Those should be done in 2 weeks. We'll have
Will
comments.
34 Mill Road be on October 6th? I thought
No,
that's
that
on-
one,
Fine.
Travers will be on the 6th.
Travers will be on the 6th. But keep both of those at the moment, and perhaps any of these other ones for your, okay.
So, Jim, you probably have your standard, your standard is sort of the ZBA can rely on its own judgment, a study of the facts for this. I did not see in any of these this evening, certainly site visits for Gary Meek were very supportive, same for Wingfield Court. I'm satisfied with all 3, but I don't see any reservations that we might wish to attach to a resolution.
I agree, that's exactly why I wanted to have the public hearing, so we could have that discussion.
Right.
And I think the same goes for Rhinebeck, which is the 3rd one. That was a 3-lot subdivision. The ZBA referral really doesn't affect the subdivision itself, but I have learned that I think 8 of the 9 structures have already actually had building permit anyway. The 9th hasn't, but I don't think it really impacts the subdivision anyway, but we were able to have that public discussion. And that's really what I want to do. So if everyone feels that those 3 ZBA referrals don't have any issues, we can send back the typical our response that the issues raise no significant planning or environmental concerns, and they rely on study of the facts on their own, including consideration of the equipment neighboring property.
Yeah, and I think the motion should include that we're moving on all 3.
All 3, yes.
All 3 of the applications, so we have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. Town board referrals, local law amendment and short-term rental.
I think these will be pretty quick. The first one, changes to the short-term rental local law. The town board proposed a resolution to repeal the short-term rentals law and enact a new one to avoid duplicative usage of certain town code section numbers. Essentially, when it was written using some of the numbers of code that already exist and kind of overlap those. So this is just a fix to that to make sure that it has its own numbers. There's no change at all that I can tell to any of the text. It's just a numerical change to make sure we're not duplicative of anything. I don't see any issues with it.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Local law amendment?
Yep, second one, I think this will be of interest to everyone, but doesn't, I think, directly impact the planning board other than potentially the number of projects we see eventually. But This is, I'll just read what the local law notes. It says, in recent years, the town of Rhinebeck has experienced a disturbing volume of instances of property owners performing work on the property without having secured the necessary permits, which resulted in the issuance of notices of violation by the zoning enforcement officer, and also caused the planning board and zoning board of appeals to review and assess ex post facto applications for approvals where work is already done. The local law notes it's not an optimal situation, and it limits the range of effective discretion of the ZBA and the planning board with no authority available. Additionally, they talk about instances for where building permits have been made, passed on plans that don't match the plans that have been approved by the planning board or the ZBA. But as you know, we have added language for about a year now stating that the plans have to match in our approval resolution, so this gives us a little bit of teeth there if something didn't happen. So what these local laws are doing is strengthening the enforcement provisions of the law to implement a bunch of different provisions, including requiring an applicant and professionals involved in the application to sign a certification, requiring an applicant or other professionals involved in the application to sign one, stating that the construction matches the plan submitted, requiring a list of all professionals that are going to be involved, updating the language regarding who may be held in violation, and clarifying that the fact that boards and agencies in the town of Rhinebeck cannot accept a complete review or otherwise process an application, including a pending application if there's a violation of the property. So really strengthening what already exists and kind of going back on some of these issues we've had to try and prevent some of these coming forward. So I don't think it directly impacts the board in the reviews we do, although it may help clean things up a little bit in terms of what needs to come.
So what is the board expected to do, if any, regarding these?
Any comments you may have? I don't think there are really any comments on the issues regarding the proposed changes other than they strengthen the law, that I think is a positive thing.
I'm afraid to send something that says we don't have any comment or.
I would actually, some of this that's coming out of the town board is coming out of some discussions we've all been having for some period of time about the difficulties we encounter. You know, I mean, over the last year or so, I would say, you know, on every pre-con meeting we have, there's typically one or two sometimes, at least a couple a month, I would say, where the voting doesn't work.
Right.
And we're talking about resolutions for this on a number of levels, like, are we not getting the information out properly? Can the website be improved? All of those. But this is one that I think the town is really hearing what we're saying about. This is complicating work for Gretchen, it's complicating work for Brian, it's complicating work for us, it's complicating work for the applicants who have to come in. So I think they're really hearing us and trying to put something in place that makes it more efficient. And they're still looking at the other things like, you know, are we communicating properly? Can the website be improved? But I think this is, I think we need in this case to tell the town board that we are pleased that they are hearing the concerns that are being raised and encourage them to keep looking at solutions.
I would agree with that, but for the fact that it seems to be all stick and no carrot. Because I had said it, when we were having this conversation before, that you know, people's attitude is that it's always easier to beg forgiveness than it is to ask permission. And this makes it, you know, not so friendly to beg forgiveness. You know, we have some force behind, you know, people who are, you know, in arrears. But streamlining the process, making data information more available, having hire somebody to go to our website and just make it easier for people to file their applications. And now, you know, we're adding layers of certifications that people are going to have to pursue before they file their permits in the first place.
The carrot piece hasn't been lost in the discussions.
Okay.
All of the things you just raised. We actually, the subcommittee that's been meeting, worked with Jim and Gretchen. I think we sent out 50 surveys, approximately 50 surveys.
About 50 surveys went out
50 surveys.
prior to prior applicants over the last year, both the planning board and zoning board. Yes.
Tell us about your experience, what worked, what didn't work. I think there were 3 responses. So, not surprising, but the point is, we are mindful that the carrot and stick needs to be combined.
So maybe we should tell them nice sticks, but don't forget the carrots. And they'll know what we need.
Oh,
so is everyone in support of these resolutions?
All right, yes.
All right, then, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The only thing I will just add is that I asked Jim earlier, and there's no definitive answer. he is working to try and identify some dates for a second site visit for Villas. It hasn't fallen off our radar. And so we'll continue to talk about that. But with that, I take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstention? Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, once again. It's an awful lot to get through tonight, and I appreciate your patience, perseverance, and passion.